Chapter 667. Too Precious. Great Demon King Baruth, Demon King Ha-Exen, Demon King Ojin, Lich King Grun, Lich King Mafa, and the other powerhouses of the demon abyss all gulped. They, who were used to seeing treasures, couldn't help but be moved when they saw this kind of super top-grade heaven stage martial spirit pill. With it, heaven rank was no longer a threshold that could never be crossed. The heart of a sovereign was not something that just anyone could comprehend. They did not have high hopes for it, but the heaven rank was their lifelong pursuit. If they were forever stuck below the heaven rank, how could they talk about ruling the demonic abyss? Right now, any random group of mercenaries from the heaven realm had the strength of a heaven ranker. If they did not improve, then the kings of the demon abyss would become the laughingstock of Tong Tian Tower. Other than the kings of the demon abyss, there were also kings from various races. The Golden Elf Empress, the Dragon Emperor of the Eastern Goblin Tribe, the Emperor of the Underworld of the Darkness Continent. Many kings of the heaven-reaching tower that were originally impossible to gather together had all come to the Rainbow Castle in the Little Flower Garden. In the face of this kind of super heaven stage martial spirit pill that could help people ascend to the heaven stage, none of them did not reveal a look of longing. Thank you very much for your materials. I'm lucky enough to refine the heaven stage martial spirit pill. Today, I'll give all 50 pills to the Night Empress and let her distribute them reasonably. Yu Yang was very cunning. He knew how to distribute the materials was a difficult problem. Because the materials were provided by everyone, he threw this thorny problem to the Night Empress. Actually, he originally wanted to let Jun Wu Yu and the Old Fox handle it. However, Jun Wu Yu and the Old Fox were scared out of their wits. They hurriedly declined. He strongly recommended the Night Empress. Later, Yu Yang thought that only the Night Empress could handle this problem, so he cunningly pushed the responsibility to the Night Empress. Moreover, the number of heaven stage martial spirit pills he refined was not 50, but as many as 115. He, who was born unwilling to suffer losses, naturally kept more than half of them. Yu Yang wouldn't have been so generous if it wasn't for the fact that he still needed everyone to think of ways to collect materials for him. At most, he would have given out 8 to 10 of them. The Night Empress advised him to be more generous so that everyone would have something to look forward to. With this pill, wouldn't he be afraid that everyone wouldn't actively search for ingredients? Therefore, Yu Yang took out 50 pills at once. 50. The eyes of great demon King Baruth and the others widened. Now that everyone had one, there shouldn't be a problem. But how to get the second one? The Night Empress would never reward everyone with an extra pill just because they supported the materials. As for this kind of heaven stage martial spirit pill, the more the better. Even if it was taken repeatedly, it would continue to improve the super medicinal effect. But how could he get the second or even the third heaven stage martial spirit pill from the hands of the Night Empress? This was a question that the kings of the various races had to consider. Moreover, the number of 50 pills seemed to be a lot. After the equal distribution, the remaining heaven stage martial spirit pills would definitely be a tense situation. Everyone, I won't say any unnecessary words. First of all, think about it. If you feel that the conditions are suitable, then come find me. I will be waiting for everyone in Sky Split Tower's 10th floor's Starflower Cliff Valley. The Night Empress took the jade bottle containing 50 heaven stage martial spirit pills and floated away. She was not in a hurry to negotiate with the other party. Great Demon King Baruth and the others glanced at each other and hurriedly chased after the Starflower Cliff Valley. This was not a joke. If he allowed someone else to state the highest condition first, then his own pill would be finished. Conditions? Was that a problem? As long as Yang needed it and he could do it, then he would do as he pleased. What was more exciting and important than advancing to heaven stage and becoming a heaven stage expert that he had been longing for hundreds of years? The kings of various races left noisily, leaving behind a group of old fellows who admired Yu Yang infinitely. Especially Jun Wuyo and the Old Fox, they were extremely excited. Although they also knew that they had no hope of reaching heaven stage in this life, it did not prevent them from feeling proud of the new medicine refined by Yu Yang. They absolutely refused Yu Yang's offer to give them Heaven Stage martial spirit pills. Even the Eastern Sky King, who had never been polite to Yu Yang, seriously criticized his son-in-law this time. Silly boy, do you think this thing is a soybean? Why do we old fellows, people with half a foot in the grave, want such a good thing? I'll give my daughter my share. As long as she can ascend to innate sovereign, what regrets do I have in my life? So what if it's not Heaven Stage? Didn't you see great demon King Baruth and the others salute us? The old fox also did not accept the Heaven Stage martial spirit pill, but for the ordinary martial spirit pill made by Yu Yang with the remaining materials, he proudly accepted it. Boy, if you have the ability, let us waste a few martial spirit pills. Anyway, just treat it as practice. Old Man Yuhai also took an ordinary martial spirit pill. He was definitely reluctant to eat it himself, so it was most likely for his fifth brother, Yu Ting. That honest and simple Yu Ting, he was the next master of the clan and needed to be trained. As for Yu Yang, his future would be in Heaven Realm, even higher. Therefore, Old Man Yuhai did not expect him to be the Yu clan's patriarch. Second uncle Yu Ling also got an ordinary martial spirit pill. He excitedly put it in his arms, preparing to leave it for his youngest son, Yu Feng. All his efforts were now poured into his little nine. What about our share? Fatty Hai's words are despised by Yi Kong and the others. Speaking of which, as a boss, he didn't give everyone pills and even reached out to everyone. What kind of boss was this? Of course, Fatty Hai's boss was self-proclaimed. Other than himself, no one thought that he was the boss. If everyone agreed that he was the boss, then someone had to stand up and take the blame. Why didn't I see you when I was helping? Yu Yang's temper was extremely bad. The hard-shell dragon fruit and snow lotus root needed by the martial spirit pill are extremely scarce. Many substitutes can't be used to refine pills. It can only be a liquid pill. The effect may be a little weaker, but everyone has a small bottle. Yu gave the bottle to everyone one by one. Although the sheep fat jade bottle was small, the liquid pill was at least equivalent to 5 ordinary martial spirit pills. Thank you, Sister Yu. Lu Yi and Bao Er were more polite. After receiving it, they would even happily thank her. Like Yi Kong and the Li brothers, they were only foolishly happy. I think the whole martial spirit pill is more chewy. Fatty Hai muttered to himself, a little like a snake trying to swallow an elephant. You pig head, do you think it's easy to make martial spirit pills? Don't take it back. Yu Yang was about to go berserk. Fatty Hai was so scared that he quickly ran away. Just as he ran out the door, he was smashed flat on the ground by Yu Yang using a large piece of meteorite iron. Fatty Hai usually let Yu Yang and Yi Kong fight a lot, so he had already cultivated an immortal body. No matter how badly he was beaten, he would still act as if nothing had happened. Compared to Yi Kong, who had this standing erect inherent skill and the guardian beast fortitude, he was even more like an unkillable cockroach. The taste seems to be okay. Shui Lang gulped it all down in one gulp. Everyone watching was dumbfounded. Wasn't this ice cube guy afraid of exploding to death? This is too much a blow. The bald old man Ning Hai did not enjoy the martial spirit pill. He was a captive, although he had turned over a new leaf, given his potential and contribution. Unless the martial spirit pill refined by Yu Yang could be counted in tons, he would not be able to get it. To be able to get some dregs that had already exceeded his highest expectations. One had to know that other than Hui Tai Lang's super appetite, there was also the golden tiger shark and the blood python king's family, which had become waste terminators. Ning Hai, this old man, had to make a greater contribution to get some dregs. Now, he had almost nothing to do. He was just a bystander. Similar to Ning Hai, there was also the monster man in Ge. And Ge was better, because Yu Yang needed a qualified guide when he walked in the Western Heaven Realm in the future, or when Yi Kong and the others went to the Heaven Realm to train, and Ge could barely contribute. Before Yi Kong and the others left, they gave Yu Yang a top-grade Azure Dragon Pearl and a Peace Medal. This was the treasure that Captain Yong Hui took out as the first part of the ransom. In addition to the top-grade Azure Dragon Pearl and the Peace Medal, there were also a few weapons, but the weapons could not be taken out in the water world, so they were temporarily postponed. Of course, Yu Yang was very interested in the top-grade Azure Dragon Pearl, but he did not expect Captain Yonghui to take it out so quickly. He guessed that Sky Execution, Dragon Emperor, and Emperor of the Underworld made Yonghui afraid, so he hurriedly compromised with him. Yu Yang didn't want to kill Captain Yonghui, as well as Zhongguan and the others of the three who surrendered, because they were still useful. Of course, the fate of a sparring partner was necessary. Go back and tell him that he will be released in half a year. Don't bother me now. Yu Yang announced Yonghui's sentence like a judge. I think Yonghui will cry to death after hearing this. Yikong laughed loudly. It would be strange if Captain Yonghui didn't have a psychological shadow after being beaten up by Sky Execution for half a year. Captive, you should have the awareness of a captive. Yu Yang's words made the old man Ning Hai agree the most. In fact, he had always done this, but unfortunately there was no opportunity to show it. Otherwise, he would definitely show the most loyal attitude, make achievements, and let Yu Yang praise him. Yikong and Fatty Hai continued to go out to cultivate. The old guys also left early, not to disturb Yu Yang's cultivation. Their only thoughts were on the construction of the Dragon God Palace and the Divine Dragon Underground Palace. With millions of people, hundreds of Heaven Realm Dragon women, and nearly 1,000 Heaven Realm Dwarves, the progress of the work continued to soar. At most a year, the Dragon God Palace and the Divine Dragon Underground Palace would be completely completed. At that time, the soaring Dragon Continent would have a building and diplomatic point that could truly be declared to the outside world as Yu Yang's residence. After the busy work, Yu Yang relaxed and rested for 3 days. When he began to cultivate nervously again, he suddenly found that his realm had risen again, not to the level of innate level 9, but to the state of the sovereign realm. It was very difficult to maintain the state of controlling all things in the sovereign realm, but now it became much easier, as if he had unknowingly made a breakthrough after refining pills. Of course, it could also be because of his mentality. Yu Yang's success in refining the Heaven Stage Martial Spirit Pill increased his confidence, which was very helpful to the improvement of his realm. There are no more materials for the Heaven Stage Martial Spirit Pill. What are we going to refine next? Yu deliberately did not ask Yu Yang about using the Spirit of Radiance to fuse with the Angel's Blade. She knew that it was best not to ask, and it would not be awkward. Anyway, he had to do it. Silently cooperating with him was the greatest support. Martial God Pill. Yu Yang suddenly had a desire. The Martial Spirit Pill he refined already had the effect of promoting people to Heaven Stage. What would happen if he refined the Martial God Pill? Unfortunately, the materials for the Martial God Pill were far from enough. Not to mention the Martial God Pill, even the Heaven Stage Martial Spirit Pill, was gathered with the power of all races. He wanted to refine more Heaven Stage Martial Spirit Pills or Martial God Pills. There was only one way. That was to go to the Heaven Realm to collect materials. Chapter 668. Heaven Realm. Yu Yang decided to return to Heaven Realm in order to collect the materials for the pills and to find a Heaven Stage War Beast to increase everyone's strength. If everyone could have the Nirvana Sunflower like City Lord Fallen Flowers, then their strength would definitely improve greatly, and Yu Yang would no longer have to worry about everyone's safety. Yu Yang had already refined the Heaven Stage Martial Spirit Pill, but he didn't have enough materials to refine the Martial God Pill that could increase the potential of a warrior. Therefore, Yu Yang had already drawn up a plan for the trip to Heaven Realm. Other aspects could be temporarily postponed. The exploration of Heaven Realm would be the first. Shui Wuxia and Princess Sisai were taken away by Ji Zun to continue their cultivation. City Lord Fallen Flowers and Inan also cultivated with the Night Empress. Even Yu Bing and Drunken Cat followed. Phoenix Fairy Beauty was a Sky Law woman. She decided to stay behind to guard the soaring Dragon Continent, to prevent the ancient Demon King and the Heaven Realm mercenary group from having any evil ideas. Furthermore, she was currently comprehending the power of Sky Law, hoping to level up again. She couldn't be distracted. Yu refused to go to Heaven Realm with Yu Yang alone. She returned to the Mirage to accompany Fourth Mother. Fortunately, I still have an obedient little half-elf maid. Before Yu Yang left, Sickly Beauty was worried that no one would take care of his life, so she let the little half-elf maid live in the grimoire world to take care of him. She estimated that Yu Yang would not return from Heaven Realm for a few days. He needed to spend some time exploring Heaven Realm, which was different from the time when he accompanied Inan to travel and fall in love. Although the Southern Heaven Realm and the Western Heaven Realm are far apart, you and the clown were enemies before. If the news spreads back to Heaven Realm, he will definitely be suspicious. Sickly Beauty told Yu Yang to be more careful. After all, Heaven Realm was not his territory, and there were many Heaven Stage cultivators there. Don't worry, I will keep a low profile this time. Yu Yang quickly comforted her. When he stepped into the Heaven Realm again, the little half-elf slave girl would not come out. She would only live in the grimoire world to take care of his life. If only Yu Yang acted alone, the situation would be much better. Furthermore, it was a coincidence that the clown had teamed up with wise demon Marshal, Rachel, Long Xiang, and the others to attack the female giant Lai Yin, unseal the ancient seal, and release the demon dragon. Furthermore, it was because the hornless dragon Jiang Ying had inherited the supreme dragon god's remnant divine power. Due to all these coincidences, it was impossible to encounter such a thing again. Using the three-realm compass, Yu Yang returned to Southern Heaven Realm. This time, he changed his identity. When applying for a new card, he called himself Jun Wu Yi. This name was given to Yu Yang as a joke when he was chatting with Princess Sisai one day. She said that if Yu Yang became the emperor, he wouldn't be much better than that old fellow Jun Wu Yu. They were both incapable rulers who indulged in extravagant pleasures every night. Yu Yang chose this name for his new identity, just to take advantage of Princess Sisai. According to his plan, Yu Yang wanted to apply to be a small mercenary, then accept all kinds of extremely difficult missions, earn a lot of money, and buy elixirs and ingredients. This beautiful wish was quickly dealt a heavy blow by the Heaven Realm Mercenary Guild. Your strength is too low, and you're a newcomer. You don't even have any experience in joining a mercenary group. We don't have any missions for you here. In a small town, the Heaven Realm Mercenary Guild Shrimpman receptionist refused to give Yu Yang any missions. In short, it looked down on Yu Yang, feeling that he didn't have the ability to complete even the lowest level missions. Letting him do it, other than sending him to his death, it was a waste of time to send people to collect his corpse. In short, no matter what Yu Yang said, it refused to give him any missions. I'll pay a deposit. Is that not enough? Yu Yang had never been looked down upon like this before. No, unless you can find a team or join a mercenary group, I won't give you any missions. This was what the town's Shrimpman receptionist said. When Yu Yang went to another city, Bacon City, the dear receptionist there also said the same thing. Then can I buy some information about missions? Of course, Yu Yang wouldn't admit defeat so easily. He thought of a better way. That was to rob. That's right. There was no other way to earn money faster than robbing. No wonder there were so many mercenary groups and bandit groups in Heaven Realm. These two basically complemented each other's existence. The mercenary group was responsible for protecting the target, while the bandit group was, of course, murdering for money. The rigid system and strict implementation of the Heaven Realm forced Yu Yang to embark on the evil path of robbing. Of course, Yu Yang himself wasn't much better. If he saw a treasure, even if he was a mercenary, he probably wouldn't let it go. What made Yu Yang sweat to death was that he couldn't get any mission information from the Mercenary Guild in Bacon City, no matter what. He just asked a random person on the street, and he got it. Moreover, it was buy one get one free. An unknown race, in short, very deformed guy, said mysteriously, "Tomorrow at noon, Master Barton's caravan will set off for Greenleaf City. The total value of the goods is 5 million. If you ambush in the Howling Wolf Canyon, use the smoke as a signal, send people to cut off the head and tail, rob the goods in the middle, and then quickly retreat along the secret mountain path shown on this map, you will definitely be able to succeed. Pay attention. You have to prepare some solid ropes and pulleys because there is a cliff in the middle of the Howling Wolf Canyon. If you want to quickly evacuate, you have to pull a rope on the cliff first. There used to be a suspension bridge here, but unfortunately, it had already been burned down by the soldiers. All right, I have a good introduction here. As long as you go to the Old Cow Tin shop to buy it, the boss there can give you a 20% discount. Because I'm an old friend of his, I've introduced quite a few customers to him. I want to ask you a question. Yong put the 5 gold coins in the guy's hand and asked curiously, how do you know I'm going to rob Master Barton's goods? I can tell that you're weak. Even the bandit group, you can't possibly be in a high position. You don't even have a chance to fight. I've seen a lot of young people like you. The deformed guy proudly patted Yu Yang's shoulder. But as long as you work hard, it's not impossible for you to be a captain in the future. In the past 1,000 years, I've seen too many young people grow up. Not to mention the captain. There are even heaven stage experts who have been promoted to captain. One last question. Yu Yang put down a gold coin in the other party's palm. How many people have you sold this information to before me? I estimate that there are at least 100. The deformed guy was still a little unwilling. Master Barton's caravan suddenly set off early. Otherwise, I would have been able to sell more. What the hell? Yu Yang was speechless. Yu Yang naturally wouldn't go to the Old Cow Tin shop to buy ropes and pulleys. He estimated that there were at least dozens of bandit groups that were prepared in advance at that cliff. If it was really impossible, couldn't he fly? The bandit group had to use ropes and pulleys to move the goods away, but he had a storage ring. Holding the deformed guy's buy one get one free map, Yu Yang set off for the Howling Wolf Canyon. He decided that if the goods of Master Barton's caravan weren't worth much, then he would rob the bandit group. In any case, the bandit group had a lot of money. Robbing anyone was a robber. It would be best to eat both black and white. There was another advantage to robbing and killing a bandit group. That was to kill the bandit group's leader and exchange his head for a bounty in the city. If he met a bandit leader with a bounty of 100 million, then the money problem that troubled Yu Yang could be solved. The map was very close, but Yu Yang flew for an entire day and still hadn't reached the Howling Wolf Canyon. The most dizzying thing was that before Yu Yang even entered the valley, he found thousands of bandits standing at the entrance of the valley, waiting. Wasn't this kind of robbery a little too unskilled? At least lay in ambush. This kind of open and above-board robbery was very unprofessional and destined to be despised by others. Why did you take so long? A bearded man came up to Yu Yang as soon as he saw him. He asked anxiously, "Did you find out?" Yu Yang sweated profusely. Even his own spy would mistake him. What kind of bandit group was this? Don't tell me you didn't even find out anything. I'll pinch you to death. That guy's temper was as hot as fire. Master Barton's caravan will set off tomorrow. Yu Yang was sure that the bearded man had mistaken him for someone else, but he was wrong. Since the other party thought that he was his spy, then what else was there to think about? He could just sneak in. He decided to take a look. If this group of bandits had a little money, then after they robbed the caravan, he would also take care of this group of bandits. Are you sure? The impatient bearded man asked with widened eyes. 100% sure. In fact, Yu Yang didn't even know who Barton was, but he said seriously, "I heard it from Master Barton's butler." "All right, then your mission is complete. When we rob the caravan, we'll give you a reward of gold and a piece of armor. Look, you're wearing plain clothes without even a piece of armor. If others see it, it's simply a disgrace to our golden bandit group. Go to the side. The guild leader is coming soon. You don't have the right to talk to him. Reporting to the guild leader is my business." The bearded man reached out and pushed Yu Yang away, afraid that he would report to the guild leader and steal the credit. He told Yu Yang to stay away from him, preferably to hide to the side. Yu Yang was speechless again. Look at your IQ. You still dare to steal the credit from your subordinates. It's fine if you steal the credit, but you don't have to say it out loud, right? Yu Yang hid his strength and didn't even feel like he was an innate. No one paid attention to him. This kind of spy who didn't even have the qualifications to fight could only go to the city to gather information. The guys from the Golden Bandit group were either drinking or gnawing on meat and bones. Some of them were lazily lying in the sun. At first, Yu Yang thought that they were calm, but in less than 10 minutes, he realized that the Golden Bandit group was too weak and had been chased out by the other bandit groups that were lying in ambush in the Howling Wolf Canyon. Other than the guild leader of Earth Stage Level 7, who went to negotiate for a chance to participate in the battle, None of the remaining bandit members were above Earth Stage Level 5. The bearded captain with low intelligence, poor eyesight, and bad temper was only at Earth Stage Level 4. With his strength, he probably wouldn't even have the qualifications to become an ordinary member in the clown group. Of course, if he had the strength, he wouldn't have to stay in this impoverished Golden Bandit group. It could be said that this Golden Bandit group was definitely worthy of its name. The entire bandit group didn't even have a single gold-ranked item. It would be more appropriate to change their name to the Pauper group or the Beggar group. Yu Yang saw that no one paid attention to him and found a remote place. He returned to the Grimoire world. He rested for a day. When he came out again, Yu Yang found that the entire Howling Wolf Canyon was filled with thick smoke, and the sound of killing shook the heavens. Countless elite troops were surrounding the bandit group. Whether it was the Golden Bandit group or other bandit groups, they were all like ants on a hot pan, running everywhere. However, the front and back were sealed by the army, forming a trap-and-kill situation with no way out. The few bandit leaders were even beaten up by the 3 generals in the army. It was only a matter of time before they were defeated. A fatty who was fatter than a pig, his thick lips sucked on a cigar-like cigarette. He held a wine glass in his right hand. He sat on the soft seat of a luxurious mammoth tent and looked at the battle scene in front of him with pride. Landlord, old money. When Yu Yang saw that the fatty's hands were full of emerald rings, his eyes immediately lit up. Good heavens, just as he wanted to rob, he met a big fish. Yu Yang, who was so poor in the heaven realm, was extremely excited. He flew over and raised the small dagger in his hand. Rob. Chapter 669. Aha! The group of guards around the fatty laughed until tears flowed down their cheeks. A little thief who didn't even have the strength of an Earth Stage actually announced a robbery to Master Barton under the eyes of a group of guards who were at least Earth Stage Level 6 and at most Earth Stage Level 8. Was there anything more ridiculous than this in this world? Had this little thief woken up? Right now, it was the army that was besieging the bandits, not the bandits that were besieging the Barton caravan. That big fatty also laughed so hard that he almost couldn't catch his breath. However, among the group of female servants, there was a female servant who was dressed seductively and radiantly. When she looked at Yu Yang, a trace of surprise flashed in her eyes. Yu Yang held his small dagger and ignored the laughter of the surrounding guards. He announced very calmly, "Robbery, I now declare that everything in the Howling Wolf Valley belongs to me. Leave all your belongings behind. Everyone, put your hands on your heads. The men stand on the left, the women stand on the right, and the androgynous lady boys stand in the middle." As soon as these words were spoken, the guards who heard them were stunned at first. Then, an even stronger burst of laughter erupted. Some people even laughed so hard that they couldn't stand on the back of the mammoth and fell down. The maids who had been trying their best to hold back their laughter could no longer hold it in. They didn't dare to lose their manners in front of their master. One by one, they turned around and turned their faces away to hide their laughter. I almost died of laughter. The fatty laughed until his mouth split to his ears and the fat on his body trembled. Is this funny? Yu Yang didn't understand. Did he have to kill a few people to show off? Wait a moment. The fatty tried his best to hold back his laughter. He took the maid's handkerchief and wiped his tears. He tried to calm down several times, but to no avail. As long as he saw Yu Yang, he couldn't help but laugh. After a long while, the fatty finally calmed himself down and asked Yu Yang with a teasing attitude, "Little human thief, do you know who I am that you want to rob?" I don't know. Yu Yang really didn't know who this fatty was, but that wasn't important. As long as he had money, it didn't matter who he was. Ah. When the group of guards heard this, they burst out laughing again. Well, I think it's better for me to introduce myself. The fat man tried his best to hold back his laughter. He took a puff of his cigar-like cigarette and puffed out the smoke, making his fat face shrouded in the smoke and adding a sense of mystery. My name is Barton, and I'm a gold medal slave trader in the Emerald Territory. Slave traders? Yu Yang understood a little now, but he pretended not to understand. You don't tell me you don't even know what a slave merchant is? Where the hell did you come from? Fatty was speechless. He had thought that once he mentioned slave traders, the other party would tremble in fear. He did not expect the other party to look confused, as if he had never heard of slave traders before. Towards a little thief who didn't even know about slave merchants. What else was there to say? All the praises were like playing the lute to a cow. Fatty waved his hand weakly. Capture him. Be careful not to injure his face. It's very rare for a human to look like this. He should be able to sell for a good price. Greetings, Master Barton. While the guard were playing rock, paper, scissors, preparing to decide who would come out to capture Yu Yang, in the distant sky, 2 generals with the strength of Heaven Stage Level 1 and 3 deputy generals with the strength of Earth Stage Level 9 and 10 flew over with a few defeated and captured bandit captains, including the leader of the Golden Bandits. They were all tied up like dumplings. As for the bearded captain with low intelligence and strength that Yu Yang had seen before, he was also captured by the elite knights of the army and escorted into the group. He was only at the level of a small captain and was not qualified to be personally escorted by the deputy general. Even the leader of the Golden Bandits, that Earth Stage Level 7 fellow, was escorted along because he was a leader. He could barely be considered as a bonus to capturing other bandit captains. The 2 generals with the strength of Heaven Stage Level 1 cupped their hands towards the fatty as a form of greeting. The fatty naturally did not dare to neglect the greeting of the Heaven Stage. He quickly stood up with his big belly and bowed with great difficulty to return the greeting. If it weren't for Master Barton's plan, the harvest this time wouldn't have been so bountiful. Master Barton, when I return, I will definitely report to the Lord and ask for credit from Master Barton. A general stepped forward and handed the fatty a sealed document. Then, he waved his hand and led the army to escort the bandits away. 1 million in hand, just like that. There's both a bounty and merit. It's so great to be a slave merchant. The fatty happily kissed the sealed document. Inside was the bounty receipt issued by the Emerald Lord. After the army left, they did not take away all the bandits. They only took away the bandits who were above Earth Stage Level 3. The rest of the bandits below Earth Stage Level 3 were all left for the fatty. Among them, Yu Yang was included, other than the 2 strongest guards who stayed behind to protect Master Barton. The rest of the guards flew down to chase away the bandits who were trembling in fear and ordered them to follow behind the group. The fate waiting for these people was to be sent to the slave exchange in the black market and sold to a certain city lord or a certain sect to work until they died. Of course, a very handsome young man like Yu Yang would have a different fate. If a female city lord who liked handsome guys took a fancy to him, he would definitely be able to sell for a good price. Yu Yang originally wanted to stab the fatty to death with a dagger, let out blood like a pig, and then loot the fatty's belongings. Now it seemed that there was a bigger way to make money waiting for him. Yu Yang decided to wait for a while and wait until they reached the slave exchange before robbing them. How many rich people were there? How could robbing a group compare to robbing a group? When the captain of the guards ordered Yu Yang to go to the group of captives, Yu Yang left without saying a word, hidden in the crowd of captives. Extremely low-key. It was as if the robbery just now had never happened. The fatty and the others didn't care about a target like Yu Yang. He didn't even have the strength of an Earth Stage. In their eyes, he was just like an ant. Only the extremely enchanting and sexy maid pretended to glance at the captives unintentionally. Her gaze lingered on Yu Yang for 3 more seconds. There was a kind of confusion in the depths of her eyes, as if there was something that puzzled her. However, she quickly returned to normal, and no one noticed a change in her eyes. After passing through the Howling Wolf Canyon, a huge ship flew over from the distant sky, with the flag of the Master of Black Wind City's unique emblem hanging on it. Yu Yang completely understood at a glance that the backer behind Master Barton was the Master of Black Wind City. Black Wind City was not far from Greenleaf City and was also under the rule of the Emerald Territory. Because the name of the city lord was Black Wind, the city he was in charge of was named Black Wind City. Yu Yang originally didn't have any information about the Master of Black Wind City, but in the confession of Zhong Guan and the other 3 who surrendered, they mentioned that the Master of Black Wind City was one of the clown's secret allies, so Yu Yang remembered it. The Master of Black Wind City wasn't a clown, but he wasn't a weakling either. His strength was at the peak of Heaven Stage Level 3, very close to Heaven Stage Level 4, and his bounty was 220 million. If one were to refer to Wise Demon Marshall's 650 million, Skeleton Man Rachel's 550 million, and Long Xiang's 400 million, the master of Black Wind City's bounty wasn't high, but it wasn't low either. One had to know that when Yu Yang fought against Wise Demon Marshall and the others, he spent a lot of effort and almost used his trump card. As a city lord, it was already very good for Black Wind to reach 220 million. All the captives boarded the ship, and it quickly carried them towards Black Wind City. Transporting 5 million worth of goods to Greenleaf City was just a bait thrown out by the big fatty Barton to the outside world. His real target was the black market of Black Wind City. When he arrived at Black Wind City, Yu Yang saw the legendary black market. He had never thought that the black market could be so open and above board. If it was in Tong Tian Tower, it wasn't that the black market didn't exist, but it was definitely hidden. It was set up in a certain underground palace or a secret room inside a certain building to secretly sell all kinds of prohibited items. The Heaven Realm was different. The black market here was actually open and above board at the side of the City Lord Mansion. It was the second largest building in the city, second only to the City Lord's Mansion. Even a fool wouldn't believe that the black market had nothing to do with the City Lord. Hey, where's that good-looking little human thief? After entering the black market, the big fatty suddenly remembered that he had a good captive. Master Barton, that little thief is missing. A guard was sweating profusely as he hurried forward to report. He doesn't even have the strength of Earth Stage. How could he possibly disappear under your noses? The big fatty didn't believe that Yu Yang would run away. He strongly suspected that some guard or some thief, because of hunger or jealousy, had eaten the little human thief that he was going to sell for a good price. The big fatty was furious. He knew that his subordinates all had the hobby of eating people and often ate captives. Because ordinary captives were very cheap, he also tacitly agreed to this action. In any case, it didn't matter if there were a few less captives. However, that little human thief was very outstanding. If he was given a set of beautiful clothes and dressed up from head to toe, he would definitely attract those lonely and lustful female experts. At that time, he would definitely be able to sell for a good price. Perhaps, because of the competition, the female experts would come to an auction and spend a lot of money to bid for this handsome guy. Now, he was actually eaten by one of his subordinates. He was so angry that his blood vessels almost exploded. Eating people doesn't differentiate between the target. Are the brains of these guards filled with shit? The big fatty decided that after this transaction was completed, he would fire all his subordinates. What he wanted was an obedient dog, not a dog that stole food. As a superior, and standing at the entrance of the black market, the big fatty tried his best to maintain his demeanor. He didn't curse out loud, even though he already wanted to whip his stupid subordinates to death. On the surface, he didn't pursue the matter, but he secretly harbored hatred in his heart. A trace of a smile appeared at the corner of the extremely sexy and enchanting maid's lips. It was as if she had obtained the answer to her doubts, but also as if she had seen something stupid and found it funny. However, that expression only flashed for a moment and immediately returned to the appearance of an ordinary maid. She followed behind the big fatty with all the maids, entering the black market. At this time, Yu Yang, who had changed his clothes, was using the identity of Junwei to register and enter the black market from another entrance. The advantage of the black market was that no matter who or what goods they were, they could pass through without obstruction. Just like that, the unknown and weak mercenary Junwei obtained the qualifications to enter the black market. Moreover, after spending 10 gold, Yu Yang also had a seat in the auction house. If the registration staff knew that Yu Yang was here to rob, they probably wouldn't be so enthusiastic. Welcome, customer. I hope you have the most satisfactory harvest inside. The registration staff welcomed Yu Yang with a smile. Thank you. I think I should have a good harvest today. Yu Yang very generously tipped the other party a gold coin. This was also the last Heaven Realm gold coin he had on him. Chapter 670. the second largest building complex in Black Wind City, in the black market. When Yu Yang walked in, he realized that this place was extremely spacious. The space was surrounded by high walls, and there were 3 blocks from east to west. All kinds of goods were displayed in the shops, and there were even more of them than a regular market. People were bustling about, and there were all kinds of races here. It was as if they were attending a market, and Yu Yang was dazzled by the sight. From north to south, there was a treading gold avenue that could allow 10 carriages to pass through, connecting the 3 blocks. In the center of the block, there was a huge building that towered into the clouds. There was a building second only to the City Lord's mansion in Black Wind City, the Treading Gold Building. Entering the black market, whether it was shopping or selling, was free. All one needed to do was register. However, if one wanted to enter the Treading Gold Building, one had to buy a ticket. The auction seat that Yu Yang had bought for 10 gold was in the Treading Gold Building. Come take a look. The best flaming tiger bones can be soaked in wine to expel the cold poison and also strengthen one's masculinity. Each bottle of bone and wine costs only 1 gold. It's better to act than to be moved. Everyone, come take a look. This is a normal flaming tiger bone. Everyone, look at my tiger skin and tiger whip. Of course, this has to be at least 100 gold. I won't sell it, even if it's 1 less. On both sides of the block, there were temporary stalls that had been set up. Some mobile merchants didn't have the financial resources to stay in the black market for a long time, so they could only rent some street stalls and sell loudly. It was similar to the stalls that Yu Yang had seen before he transmigrated, but fortunately, there are no city guards here. Unless there was a transaction of more than 100 gold, there was no tax in the black market. Management fee? To prevent it from affecting the city's appearance, it was forbidden to buy. These things were something that people had never even heard of in the heavenly realm. As long as the peddlers didn't put their stalls in front of the city lord's mansion, no one would pay attention to them. The eggs of the red dragonfly can be hatched with a contract. The hatched beast can be equivalent to the first level of the earth stage. The growth value is quasi-heaven stage. It's only for 50 gold. If you buy it, I'll give you 100 plague larvae as a basic training. This handsome young man, come buy one. A grown red dragonfly, flying war beast, is a tyrant in the air. A round-headed peddler who was trying his best called out to Yu Yang, who was passing by. It's indeed a tyrant in the air, but how long is the training period? Yu Yang asked with a smile. It depends on the training technique. The round-headed vendor was a little embarrassed. He didn't expect Yu Yang to ask about the weakness of the red dragonfly. If the red dragonfly were to fully grow, it would indeed not be weak. However, the growth period was too long. A few hundred years was only a fraction. It would take at least a few thousand years for the complete transformation. More importantly, the larvae of the red dragonfly, called water beetle, must live in the water for a long time, feeding on larvae or fish and shrimp in the water, changing into several forms. Each form of food is different, and it takes thousands of years to fully mature and finally shed into a red dragonfly. Not a young it to cultivate so complicated it and of it if it would and it young buy into buy of young and of he by he as when the round-headed peddler saw Yu Yang, he didn't dare to brag too much. He took out a bottle and quickly shook at Yu Yang. Regardless of whether Yu Yang saw it or not, he said mysteriously, "Little brother, the larvae of the golden-armored dragon lice, known as the golden-armored water tiger, is extremely fierce, has a short growth period, high mutation rate, and low death rate. It's a war beast of heaven stage. For only 100 gold, I will also give you 10 blackback tadpoles and 10 fine-footed prawns for training. How about it?" Yu Yang knew that this guy was right, but he only talked about the advantages and didn't say the disadvantages. This kind of golden armor dragon lice was indeed a good aquatic war beast. If it was cultivated well, it would be very powerful since it was a larva. However, its biggest weakness was that it was gluttonous. If the war beasts of Heaven Realm were to be divided into 10 types that could eat the most, the golden armor dragon lice would definitely be in the top 10. In the Heaven Realm Strange Stories record, written by the great sage Dan Qing from the Prison Emperor era, that Elder Nan Gong, gave to Yu Yang. The golden armor dragon louse was one of the 3,600 common creatures recorded in the heaven realm. Its specialty was that it could eat. It was said that someone had done an experiment and found that a golden armor dragon lice could eat more than 10 young dragons. If an ordinary person wanted to cultivate a golden armor dragon lice with an endless appetite, there would only be one result, and that was to die of poverty. Because cultivating a golden armor dragon lice consumed more energy than cultivating a giant dragon. How could people bear it? It ate more than a dragon, but its combat power was less than 1% of a giant dragon's. What kind of war beast was this? Of course, the biggest use of the golden armor dragon lice was not to fight, but to eat. It was a kind of delicacy in itself, especially the insect beast that had completely transformed into a golden armor dragon lice. It was the best delicacy in the heaven realm. However, it was estimated that only a heaven stage ranker like the Lionheart King could enjoy such a delicacy. Are there any adult golden armor dragon lice? Yu Yang harbored some malicious intentions. If this round-headed vendor said yes, then Yu Yang's first target would definitely be him. Fortunately, the round-headed vendor waved his hand with a bitter face. If I had an adult insect, would I still need to sell it here? I would have been invited in by the black market's auction house. You don't know, some time ago, the Emerald Lord bought a golden armor dragon lice that was only at Earth Stage Level 5 and prepared a banquet for his ministers. He spent 500,000. I dare to pat my chest and say that if that golden armor dragon lice's level was a little higher, reaching Earth Stage Level 7 or above, then it would be impossible to take it down without a million. You must know that every time its level increases, its deliciousness doubles. What a pity. When Yu Yang heard that there was nothing, he turned around and left. Sigh. Seeing that his business was not successful, the round-headed vendor let out a long sigh. When he met someone who knew the ropes, it would be useless even if he was eloquent. Yu Yang walked around the black market. He secretly noted down everything that was valuable and worth looting, whether it was war beasts, ores, or treasures. Since he had to make a move sooner or later, of course he would take more good things. For example, golden armor dragon, lice larvae, and red dragonfly larvae. He wouldn't want them even if they were given to him. It was already hard enough to have a golden armor dragon, lice larvae that could eat even more than a dragon. Wouldn't that be asking for trouble? Although there were many good things in the streets outside, there were still too few. Other than the rare treasures of the shop, Yu Yang didn't even look at the ordinary items. Want to pick up a bargain? It was extremely difficult. Even if it was a flower or a blade of grass, the people here had to repeatedly confirm it. It could be said that the value of anything had been dug out to the extreme by the merchants here. As for the price, it was also very reasonable. It was only a little more expensive than other places, not more or less, only 10 times more expensive. Yu Yang, who had the divine vision inherent skill, wandered around here for a long time before he found that there was only one kind of parasitic vine that the merchants here did not recognize as a treasure. When he suggested using magic crystals in exchange, the old shopkeeper, who looked as wrinkled as the bark of an old tree, and even his eyes were covered, immediately raised his eyebrows. His eyes, which were covered, shot out a frightening light. He put forward a condition. Not only did he give this parasitic vine to Yu Yang, he also gave Yu Yang 100 gold. The exchange condition was that Yu Yang would tell him the use of this parasitic vine. Forget it. Yu Yang turned around and left. Wait a minute. The old shopkeeper, who looked like he was dying of old age, moved faster than a cheetah. He stopped Yu Yang, bowed very respectfully and sincerely, and invited Yu Yang inside to serve tea. The old shopkeeper did not rush to interrogate Yu Yang about the use of the parasitic vine. Instead, he enthusiastically put out good wine and dishes to greet Yu Yang. When Yu Yang was full, he offered 3 diamond of fire and a agarwood worth 10,000 gold. These were all the things that Yu Yang had seen with his eyes when he entered the shop. Even Yu Yang didn't expect that he had only glanced at the fire diamond and agarwood, and this old shop owner, whose wrinkles covered his eyes, had already noticed it. The merchant's eyes were indeed sharp. Finally, the parasitic vine, and a universal card worth 10,000 gold. After the old shopkeeper presented these, he bowed very sincerely to Yu Yang. If you feel that the conditions are not enough, please mention it again. This old man will do his best. Aren't you afraid that this parasitic vine is actually a waste? Is it worth such a heavy investment? Yu Yang did not take it, but instead asked with a smile. In fact, as early as 500 years ago, there was an old senior who passed by my shop and asked about the price of the parasitic vine. At that time, this old man was not here, and my son was doing business in the shop. He felt that the value of the parasitic vine was not great, and he was busy greeting another group of regular customers, leaving the old senior in the cold. This made the old senior very bored, and he flicked his sleeves and left. It was not until later that I found out that the old senior was actually the king of medicine of Hidden Dragon Valley. The old shopkeeper once again bowed to Yu Yang and said, "In the past 500 years, you're the only one who is able to recognize this item as a treasure like the Medicine King. It's just a few thousand gold coins. I'm afraid that it's not enough. It's all thanks to a knowledgeable person like you." "You flatter me. I am just a young junior. How can I be a knowledgeable person?" Yu Yang laughed and waved his hand to deny. In this old man's shop, although there are a few rare treasures, they're actually not very useful. They can only deceive martial artists with low intelligence. How can a real famous person take a fancy to them? This old man thinks that the most useful things are the fire diamond and agarwood, but when you entered the door, you only looked at them and disdained everything else. If you're not a knowledgeable person, how can you be so discerning? In the past 500 years, customers are like carps crossing the river. Who can see that this parasitic vine is different? The old shopkeeper's eyes were very sharp, and it made Yu Yang secretly vigilant. Fortunately, this guy was a businessman, and his strength was not strong. Otherwise, he would also be a strong opponent. "If you can promise to give me one out of every 10 parasitic vines you cultivate in the future, and I have the right to buy first, then I will tell you the real use of this parasitic vine that even the king of medicine wants." Yu Yang slightly pondered for a moment, and then put forward his conditions. "If you tell me the cultivation method, this old man will give you 2 out of every 10. The old shopkeeper's eyes lit up, and he immediately put forward his conditions. Yu Yang did not answer. 3. If you can tell me the method, this old man will do his best to cultivate the best parasitic vine for you. The old shopkeeper hurriedly added to the bargaining chip. "If I specify that the special parasitic vine that I cultivate will never leak out, then I can sign the contract." Yu Yang was actually not worried about the leakage, because besides him, he believed that no one else could use that method to refine, because no one had Nirvana Flame. However, he would never lower the conditions. In business negotiations, the higher the conditions, the stricter the requirements, the happier the other party would be. When Yu Yang signed the contract under the name of Jun Wu Yi, he wrote down 4 methods of cultivating parasitic vines on another piece of paper. One could be used as medicine. In fact, the other 3 were secret methods for personal use. This kind of signing was also an attempt by Yu Yang. If the old shopkeeper was not honest, these secret parasitic vines would be useless to others. Moreover, Yu Yang could see if the other party was loyal to the contract. If there was a violation, then he could immediately chop the old shopkeeper to death, and even confiscate the other party's property. "Oh my God, I actually placed such a treasure in the shop for hundreds of years." The old shopkeeper had been in a daze since Yu Yang left. As soon as he woke up, he immediately closed the shop. Yu Yang had taken the parasitic vine away. What he needed to do was to quickly lock the contract and the cultivation method into the vault and seal it as the family's biggest secret. And here, Yu Yang, who had harvested 3 diamonds of fire, a piece of agarwood, a parasitic vine, and 10,000 gold, swaggered into the Treading Gold building to see what good things there were in the auction house. There were too few good things outside. His real goal was to find treasures that could be auctioned. Chapter 671. Before the auction, the black market would usually display all the treasures in the Treading Gold building so that everyone could familiarize themselves with them, so that they could compete during the bidding process. Of course, Treasures like the finale of the auction house would not be displayed easily, unless the owner agreed. The biggest auction of the year would be held in a month's time. It was said that the seats at the auction needed to be reserved, and the ticket price was 10 times the usual. Even a seat at the back like Yu Yang's would cost 100 gold. Yu Yang was not interested in this kind of biggest auction of the year. He didn't have much time. Time was money. Who would have the time to wait for a month? If it wasn't for the old shop owner's gift of 10,000 gold, solving Yu Yang's embarrassing situation of being short of money, Yu Yang would have been short of money today. He would have had to go on a killing spree and loot. Of course, with 10,000 gold in hand, Yu Yang was not so anxious. He first went into the auction house to take a look. Even if he wanted to loot, he had to have a target. Trash was not important. He had to make a move on the treasures. Today's black market only auctioned 100 items. Moreover, many of the treasures on display were not auctioned because today was not a big day. Yu Yang was planning to loot the exhibition hall when he suddenly heard a piece of news that made him secretly happy. Not far from him, there were two businesslike fellows discussing the treasure that Yu Yang had been longing for recently, the hard-shell dragon fruit. Hard-shell dragon fruit was one of the most important main ingredients of the martial spirit pill. Without it, it was impossible to refine the martial spirit pill. Is it really 3,000 years old? Are you sure? The pot-bellied merchant on the left asked his companion in a low voice as he passed by Yu Yang. It's definitely the best of 3,000 years. I estimate that it's more than 3,000 years old because Hidden Dragon Valley and Jiayu sect have both sent people to compete for it. The merchant on the right quietly made a gesture of 100,000 gold with his hand and gestured to his companion. He said softly, I estimate that the starting bid will be 50,000. At the end of the auction, it will probably be this number. That's a bit too much. If it's not a 3,000-year-old top-grade item, we'll be in for a loss. The brocade-clothed merchant on the left shook his head, revealing an ugly expression of greed and cowardice. Yu Yang laughed inwardly at these two fellows for not appreciating treasures. A 3,000-year-old hard-shell dragon fruit. Even if it wasn't him, if it was someone else, the martial spirit Dan refined would far surpass the ordinary martial spirit Dan. What was 100,000 gold? That kind of treasure, could its value be measured by money? Furthermore, a 3,000-year-old hard-shell dragon fruit could be used as a side ingredient for the martial god pill. Although it was still a little short of being the main ingredient, it was still one of the more important ingredients. If some of the side ingredients were not enough, the 3,000-year-old hard-shell dragon fruit could be used as a temporary substitute. If it was a hard-shell dragon fruit that was more than 5,000 years old in the hands of Yu Yang, it could even replace some of the main ingredients. If there was a 10,000-year-old hard-shell dragon fruit, Yu Yang could immediately confirm that it was the main ingredient. From this, it could be seen how precious the hard-shell dragon fruit was. A hard-shell dragon fruit that would mature in 1,000 years and emit a fragrance that attracted strange beasts could continue to absorb the spiritual chi of heaven and earth for 3,000 years. What kind of concept was that? For Yu Yang, that was definitely a priceless treasure. If someone asked Yu Yang to take out 10 million gold to exchange for a 3,000-year-old hard-shell dragon fruit, he would exchange it without hesitation. In Tong Tian Tower, forget about the 3,000-year-old one. Even a 1,000-year-old hard-shell dragon fruit could only be found by chance and not sought after. Otherwise, even if all the clans in Tong Tian Tower exhausted their strength, they would not be able to obtain more materials to refine the martial spirit Dan. If the great demon King Baruth still had the hard-shell dragon fruit, he would immediately send it to Yu Yang to refine. Unfortunately, that thing was not a sweet potato. Even if he searched the entire Tong Tian Tower, there were very few that could be found. When Yu Yang heard the news about the 3,000-year-old hard-shell dragon fruit, his heart was immediately moved. Not to mention anything else, just robbing this trip to the heaven realm was already not in vain. No matter what, he had to take down this 3,000-year-old hard-shell dragon fruit. 3 hours later, the auction in the underground auction house of the Treading Gold building officially began. When Yu Yang sat down, he was ready to see who would be the fat sheep that he would rob in the future. Suddenly, He was surprised to find that the person who had merged 2 seats with him was the round-headed peddler he had met during the day. When that guy saw Yu Yang, he immediately reacted and greeted Yu Yang cordially. What made Yu Yang the most speechless was that the small merchant sitting next to Yu Yang saw that the two of them knew each other. He was very kind and took the initiative to exchange seat tickets with the round-headed peddler. The round-headed peddler didn't expect this either. He was a little stunned. He sat beside Yu Yang and quickly introduced himself. "I am Bao Gu, an iron plate traveling merchant from the Emerald Territory. I am one of the outer sect disciples of the stone carving sect." Yu Yang saw that he was only at the 3rd level of the Earth stage and had low potential. It was not bad that he could become an outer sect disciple now. He casually replied, "Jun Wu Yi, from the Western Heaven Realm." Oh my god, that round-headed Bao Gu had the urge to faint. How far was the Western Heaven Realm from here? With his kid's strength, even if he used the teleportation array the entire way, he would probably have to walk for a month. With such a low strength, why would he run so far? Was there a need to run so far just to get some goods? Not to mention making money. It definitely wasn't enough to pay for the journey. Yu Yang smiled and ignored him. The auction began very soon. A gray-clothed man from the Parrot clan stood on the auction stage and welcomed them with a torrent of words. A few famous and powerful figures, as well as the master of Black Wind City, repeatedly mentioned it to show their respect. Finally, the auction began. The gray-clothed man gave a brief explanation of the function of each item, as well as the base price and the price of each item. Because of his excellent speech skills and strong motivation, the first dozen or so items were all sold at a price several times higher than the original item. Of course, there were also a few items that were not auctioned off. This was not uncommon in the black market because the price was too high. It was a common occurrence. The round-headed peddler Bao Gu was a little curious about Yu Yang. This young human seemed to have good eyes, and he came from the Western Heaven Realm, so why didn't he bid? Could it be that he was waiting for today's final treasure? The following auction item is a red stone obtained by an adventurer who risked his life in the most dangerous area of the Emerald Territory, the Evil Dragon River Beach. After testing, its quality is at least level 6 or above. It is full of energy and has a very strong affinity for light and water energy. The starting price of this item is 1,000 gold, and each bid is 100 gold. Who wants to own this beautiful red stone? Please raise the sign in your hands. There is only 1,000 gold, and it will belong to you. 1,000 gold, 1,000 gold. Is there anyone who wants a bid? The gray-clothed man spoke in an extravagant manner, but no one was interested in this kind of ore. If it was a gem, then it would be different. This strange, or that was bigger than a fist, had an unknown function. No one was willing to pay 1,000 gold coins for a beautiful red stone. 1,000 gold. Is there anyone who wants a bid? 1,000 gold. Only 1,000 gold. Friends, you can have this beautiful red stone with just 1,000 gold. The gray-clothed man tried his best to stir things up, but no one was interested. If it's un or with a certificate of origin, then it's fine. Who would have something like this that came from who knows where? The round-head Bao Gu curled his lips. That's right. Even if it's a gem, it still needs to be certified. If it's not produced by a famous pit, the price won't be high. The merchant sitting on the other side nodded in agreement. After about half a minute of silence, the gray-clothed man, who had been nagging nonstop, realized that this item was going to be left unsold. Out of professional ethics, he asked one last time, "Does anyone want this red stone? It's only 1,000 gold. Does anyone want to raise their hand?" Just as the gray-clothed man was about to hammer down the red stone auction, Yu Yang raised his right hand. His bid stunned the round-head Bao Gu. What was this kid trying to do? Pick up a leak? Or has it been appraised by many famous experts in the industry? Anything that could be auctioned off would definitely not be picked up by others. In the Heaven Realm, the act of buying a nameless stone at an extremely low price and then cutting it open to discover that it was a rare treasure could only be a dream, not to mention the appraisal of a famous expert. Even an ordinary shop could use a special war beast, the golden sniffing dog, to judge the quality of minerals and gems. If he wanted to pick up a leak, he would have to trade with an ignorant mercenary in the wild. To be able to enter the auction house, he had to go through the eyes of countless people. It was almost impossible to take advantage of him. This gentleman has bid 1,000 gold. Thank you for your support. Thank you very much. Is there any higher bid than this gentleman? Who else would bid? If no one bid, then after 3 calls, this 6th-grade redstone would belong to this gentleman. Friends, are there any higher bids? The gray-clothed man was also surprised by Yu Yang's raise of his hand. However, he reacted in a second and continued the auction. No matter how slippery his mouth was, no one participated in the bidding. In the end, Yu Yang bid 1,000 gold. He won the redstone. The round-head Baogu really wanted to advise him, but seeing that it was already a done deal and that he wasn't very familiar with Jun Wuyi, he kept his mouth shut. To others, the redstone was indeed not a good thing. However, to Yu Yang, it was a priceless treasure. Yu Yang had already taken a fancy to this redstone during the previous auction. To ordinary people, this redstone was a piece of, or not a gem, but to Yu Yang, it was more useful than a gem. In the knowledge of the pitiful guy's mother, there was a memory of this kind of redstone. This kind of redstone, its full name was Swan Lake Redstone. It was a special kind of treasure. Because of its soft texture, it could not be inlaid like other gems, nor could it be refined like ores. However, its function was not to increase the energy of weapons or armor like gems. It was not an ornament, nor was it a material for crafting. Instead, it was a treasure of heaven and earth that could fuse and increase the battle prowess of divine weapons and divine weapons. Of course, ordinary people couldn't use this kind of redstone. They had to use a mysterious heaven rune formation to refine it. Only after the redstone was completely refined into a Swan Lake redstone would it have an increase in power. Moreover, ordinary people didn't have divine weapons and divine weapons. Even if they obtained this kind of treasure, they wouldn't be able to use it. However, it was very useful to Yu Yang, especially in the process of using the Spirit of Radiance to fuse with Yu Yu's Angel's Blade. Yu Yang urgently needed a fusion item that could solve the mutual repulsion. This Swan Lake Redstone was undoubtedly the best treasure. Chapter 672. Yu Yang had won the Redstone of Swan Lake with a bid of 1,000 gold. He was a little proud of himself. Unfortunately, the 3,000-year-old hard-shell dragon fruit that he valued the most was not auctioned today. It seemed that it would be left for the annual auction a month later. Yu Yang wanted to go berserk several times. He might as well loot this place and plunder everything. However, after thinking about it, there might be more good things. He couldn't just kill the hen that laid the golden eggs. He couldn't kill the goose that laid the golden eggs. It was better to leave it to lay the golden eggs slowly. There should be more good things in the annual auction. It wouldn't be too late to attack then. Among the 100 items for auction today, other than the redstone of Swan Lake, there were 2 other items that Yu Yang was interested in. One was the firefly bamboo. This was a very rare elixir material. It was also the food for war beasts and could even be used to refine special weapons. There might no longer be any firefly bamboo in Tong Tian Tower because it had gone extinct due to excessive logging. Even in the Southern Heaven realm, it was a rare item. Its 1,000-year-old finished product was auctioned for as high as 85,000 gold. This price was because the son of the sect leader of the Baisong clan had personally come a bid. Many people were intimidated by his heaven stage strength and the influence of the Baisong clan in the Emerald Territory. They didn't dare to compete with him, who had revealed his identity. The other item that caught Yu Yang's eye was a war beast that was equivalent to the first level of heaven stage, the ancient giant ape. This golden, 50-meter-tall ancient giant ape was not yet mature. It was still in the growing period. Even if it didn't mutate, it would at least reach the 3rd level of heaven stage if it continued to grow like this. Yu Yang felt that such a heaven stage war beast was worth nurturing. Of course, he didn't need the ancient giant ape at all. He really had his eyes on the potential of the 3rd level of heaven stage. However, if this ancient giant ape was combined with Yi Kong's King Kong demon ape, it would probably be of great help to Yi Kong. Yi Kong's strength would immediately soar. With the heaven-ranked ancient great ape, Yi Kong might not be able to make a name for himself in the heaven realm, but in Tong Tian Tower, He should be able to look down on everyone. 6 million. Young Master Song Tao of the 100 Pine sect has bid 6 million. Is there anyone else? May I ask if there's anyone who's willing to bid higher than 6 million? If no one bids after 3 counts, then this ancient great ape in its youth growth stage will belong to young Master Song Tao. As the gray-clothed man spoke, he secretly felt bitter in his heart. This young Master Song Tao revealed his identity to bid and used his aura to suppress the audience. He was extremely arrogant. In the auction house, everyone was afraid of young Master Song Tao's strength and the Sintong clan behind him. No one dared to participate in the bidding. If this continued, it would have a very bad impact on the auction, but there was nothing they could do. The whole place was silent. No one responded. You want to fight with me? How boring. The arrogant young Master Song Tao stuck his head out of the window of the VIP seat and looked around. It was bigger than a football field and could accommodate tens of thousands of merchants and martial artists. No one dared to compete with him. The few martial artists who were constantly bidding shut their mouths. Although they were angry, they didn't dare to resist. Young Master Song Tao let out a burst of complacent laughter and retracted his head with a pleased expression. Even the round-headed peddler Bao Gu, who was sitting beside Yu Yang, was very dissatisfied with this person's arrogance. It was only because he was afraid of the other party's heaven stage strength that he didn't dare to say anything. After the ancient great ape was confirmed to belong to the Sintong sect, the auction continued to return to normal. He whispered to Yu Yang with some unwillingness, "This young Master Song Tao is really not a good person, relying on his heaven stage strength and a father who is at the peak of the 5th level of heaven stage. He ran amok in the Emerald Territory. He revealed his identity in the black market and forcefully snatched the auction items. He even secretly killed people and robbed the caravans, causing many complaints. I think this guy hasn't received his retribution yet. Otherwise, with a bounty of nearly 50 million, he would have been slaughtered sooner or later." On the other side, the small merchant also chimed in with interest. It's hard to say. Young Master Song Tao himself is of heaven stage. In addition, his father was afraid that something would happen to him, so he sent 2 heaven stage guards to protect him all year round. Experts like the Master of Black Wind City are all acquaintances. It's impossible to just count on ordinary mercenary groups to surround and kill them. Bao Gu wanted to argue, but he felt that the other party's words were not unreasonable. Moreover, the Sintong sect was a large sect in the Emerald Territory. Ordinary people really didn't dare to provoke them. In the end, he could only sigh. Yu Yang listened. Smile. He didn't say anything. 50 million suspended gold? Not bad. It seemed that robbing also depended on the target. Robbing a poor ghost like Bao Gu wouldn't earn much money even if he robbed 10,000 of them. Barton's pig was slightly fatter, but he didn't have much oil. Killing a rich man like young Master Song Tao, who wasn't strong and had a bounty, was the best target. Not to mention that young Master Song Tao's bounty was as high as 50 million, just the fact that he forcefully bought the ancient great ape and firefly bamboo that Yu Yang had his eyes on made him a dead man. After the auction, Yu Yang took out his card, paid 1,000 gold, and received his own red stone of Swan Lake. After him, that young Master Song Tao arrogantly led the crowd over. He drove away the merchants who were also queuing up to receive the auction items. Scram, you poor bastards. Don't you know how to make way for the real VIPs? The round-headed vendor Bao Gu, who hadn't even had the time to receive a bug-type cub, quickly pulled Yu Yang away. He was afraid that Yu Yang, an outsider from the Western Heaven Realm, wouldn't know how to avoid and provoke the other party. It didn't matter if Yu Yang died. He was afraid that others would misunderstand that he was Yu Yang's friend. After exiting the door, the round-head Bao Gu bid farewell to Yu Yang and went to apply for the queue again. When Yu Yang walked out of the treading gold building of the black market, he glanced back and a mysterious smile appeared on his lips. Midnight. After coming out of the city lord's mansion, young Master Song Tao, whose face was flushed red from drinking, boarded his luxurious carriage. Pulled by 4 Heaven Realm Pegasi, they flew straight to his villa in Blackwind City. In his arms, he hugged the beautiful girl that the master of Black Wind City had gifted him, lewdly moving up and down. That beauty, who was basically a monster from a human's point of view, acted coquettishly towards him, refusing to welcome him. Two of them were also at the first level of Heaven Stage, but they were close to the peak of the first level of Heaven Stage. They rode on the silver-winged wyvern, protecting him from both sides. About 20 kilometers away from the city lord's mansion, a quiet and elegant manor appeared in front of the carriage. With the speed of the Heaven Realm Pegasi, 20 kilometers would only take 10 minutes to fly. Moreover, this was still a leisurely speed. If they were to fly at full speed, within 10 minutes, the 4 Heaven Realm Pegasi would probably be able to fly 50 kilometers or even more. When the carriage stopped, young Master Song Tao was about to carry the monster-like beauty back to his room to enjoy himself. 2 family guards suddenly stopped his actions. "Please stay in the carriage and don't come out for now. There's a smell of blood in the manor, and it's fresh blood." The guards with an extremely sensitive sense of smell noticed that something was wrong. It turned out that the servants and young Master Song Tao's female slaves should have been impatient to welcome the carriage when they saw it return. However, not only did no one appear, the entire villa was filled with the smell of fresh blood. Don't be nervous. It's not like this has happened once or twice. A mere bandit wants to assassinate this young master? How boring. Relying on his Heaven Stage strength and deliberately showing off his skills in front of the beauty, young Master Song Tao didn't care about the assassination at all. He wanted to take the opportunity to show off his might and kill the bandit leader. In Black Wind City, not to mention the 3 Heaven Stage warriors who could run amok, even if it was just him alone, he wouldn't have to worry. Even if he was surrounded by bandits, the master of Black Wind City would still come after hearing the news. This place was only 20 kilometers away from the master of Black Wind City's mansion. With the strength of a Heaven Stage expert, it could be said that he could arrive in the blink of an eye. A human man wearing a golden mask and holding a blood demon sickle floated out of the manor. He was, of course, Yu Yang, who had been waiting for a long time. For a second generation, Yu Yang, who had just ransacked the manor, didn't waste any more words. He directly stepped forward. "Kill!" Young Master Song Tao, who had sensed that Yu Yang didn't have the strength of Heaven Stage and was only at the 9th level of Earth Stage, thought that he could show off his skills. "Let me do it." He stretched out his hand and pushed away the guards in front of him. He raised his Heaven Stage strength proudly and pointed at Yu Yang, shouting, "Brat, tomorrow will be your death anniversary. You want to kill me at the 9th level of Earth Stage? This young master will let you know what an instant kill is." "What do you mean by instant kill?" Yu Yang asked in amusement. "I'll kill you in one move. That's an instant kill." Young Master Song Tao rushed forward like lightning, wanting to smash Yu Yang's head with a single punch. The moment his fist arrived in front of Yu Yang's forehead, the Gu-8 Song sword shot out from Yu Yang's hand. It nailed into the space between his eyebrows. Young Master Song Tao's eyes bulged out. He, who had been killed in an instant, died with grievances. Yu Yang completely ignored this painful death. With a light wave of the demon sickle that was still dripping with blood, he cut off young Master Song Tao's head. In the eyes of the 2 guards, they didn't see the appearance of the Gu-8 Song sword. They only felt young Master Song Tao's body tremble slightly and stop moving, allowing the other party to behead him with the demon sickle. Seeing young Master Song Tao being beheaded, the 2 guards were stunned at first, thinking that they had seen wrongly. How could a Heaven Stage expert be instantly killed by an Earth Stage expert? Wasn't that the other way around? When they reacted, they were enraged. The enemy had actually killed their personal bodyguard, young Master Song Tao. What would the sect leader do if he found out? The 2 of them erupted with the strength of a peak Heaven Stage, level 1. Any one of them was several times stronger than young Master Song Tao. Working together, they attacked Yu Yang, who was putting young Master Song Tao's head into a storage ring. The result was exactly the same as before. Before the guard on the left could hit Yu Yang, he discovered that there was a white light between his eyebrows. The Shuang Hua sword pierced through his forehead, and he was also instantly killed. The other guard, who was slightly slower, felt extreme fear in his heart. He no longer cared about avenging young Master Song Tao and his companions. He immediately turned around and wanted to escape from this place. He flew far away before he realized that his body was very light. He looked down in shock and found that below his chest, it had been cut off by an unknown sharp weapon. At the same time as he screamed in horror, he discovered that the sharp weapon that had cut him in half had reversed from the front and cut into his cheek at lightning speed. World exterminating wheel? Before he died, such a reaction flashed through his mind. Then it froze forever, seeing that the escaping guard had been killed on the spot by a shining rune treasure wheel. The beautiful girl who was about to escape was so frightened that she immediately stopped flying. Escaping was definitely not an option. Even a heaven stage expert couldn't escape more than 100 meters. If she wanted to escape, she would be courting death. Perhaps she could use her beauty to exchange for her life. As long as it was a man, there was no one who wasn't lustful. After the beautiful girl made up her mind, she immediately tore off all the clothes on her body, revealing her beautiful body with 4 huge breasts. I belong to the Sound Breast clan. As long as Master massages my body, beautiful music will be produced. While this music will increase the interest, it can also help Master's sexual power. If Master plays with friends, then the pleasure will be doubled. This beauty originally wanted to introduce her skills in bed. Her combat power could reach the level of a grandmaster, and she was good at serving men. It would not be a problem for her to take on 2 at once. Sorry, I don't like hardcore tastes. Yu Yang killed the beautiful girl with a demonic scythe. It was not impossible to seduce a man, but one had to see the target clearly. Other than those perverts with hardcore tastes, who would like this kind of disgusting monster? It's not your fault that you're ugly, but it's your fault that you came out to scare people. Even if he didn't kill her, he couldn't stand this kind of self-righteous, ugly monster. Looking at her pretentious posture and shocking words, Yu Yang was so disgusted that he wanted to vomit. This kind of lewd race seemed to be the best race in the Southern Heaven Realm, and only that super hardcore young Master Song Tao would like it. Chapter 673. What? Young Master Song Tao is dead? When a master of Black Wind City heard the news, his first reaction was to question whether he had heard wrongly. Young Master Song Tao, who was of Heaven Stage and had 2 Heaven Stage guards, had been silently ambushed and beheaded when he returned to the manor after the banquet. This kind of result was simply a fantasy. In Black Wind City, other than himself and a few other Heaven Stage warriors who were on good terms with young Master Song Tao, who else could kill the Heaven Stage young Master Song Tao? If he couldn't win, couldn't he run? If the 3 Heaven Stage warriors were to escape back to their own mansion, the distance would only be 20 kilometers. With their full speed, they would only need a minute. Could it be that young Master Song Tao and the other 2 couldn't even hold on for a minute and were slaughtered? What was most inconceivable to the Master of Black Wind City was that the murderer who killed young Master Song Tao did not run away. He even leisurely entered the mercenary guild and used the heads of young Master Song Tao and the 2 guards to exchange for a bounty. If it wasn't for that, then he would have thought that young Master Song Tao was enjoying the beauty of the Sound Milk clan that he had given him. The scene has been searched. There are no unusual traces of battle. The Master of Black Wind City's most capable subordinate, General Jean Fong, reported with a gloomy expression, including the beauty that the city lord gave to young Master Song Tao. All 4 of them were killed in one move. Killed in one strike. The Master of Black Wind City's eyebrows twitched. Even he would find it difficult to do so. The heads of young Master Song Tao and the 2 guards were exchanged for a bounty from the mercenary guild, so they were unable to obtain any injuries. However, this subordinate suspects that the other party has an extremely strong control ability. Almost all 3 of them were beheaded. Only the escaping right guard, Pang Ku, was cut in half by the enemy's sharp weapon and then beheaded to death. As for the beauty of the Sound Milk clan, it was the same. It is worth noting that although her clothes were torn, she was not raped in any way. This subordinate guessed that the other party either had a woman by his side to help him, or had a different aesthetic point of view than us. General Jean Feng reported all the details. I just want to know who did it. The master of Black Wind City felt a headache coming on. In his own city, such a bloody case had occurred. How could the master of Baisong's sect let this matter rest? Sir City Lord, the mercenary guild refused to reveal the information of the recipient in the name of protection. General Jean Feng said that he could not find it. Didn't you use my city lord's privilege? The master of Black Wind City was furious. Even if I used my privilege, the mercenary guild refused to reveal it. General Jean Feng replied, "What?" The master of Black Wind City was stunned. Even his city lord's privilege was useless? This was really baffling. The Commission Guild has a privacy protection regulation for bounty recipients. That bounty recipient has applied for personal information protection. Therefore, unless the Baisong sect leader personally comes and offers a bounty, we can't access the bounty recipient's information even if we use our privileges. General Jean Feng nodded slightly, confirming that the investigation was progressing in a tricky manner. So now we can only wait for that old man Baisong to come and kill us. The master of Black Wind City was furious. He knew he needed to calm down, but he couldn't. This subordinate has investigated all the people who entered the mercenary guild at midnight and found a few suspects. In fact, a human man dressed as a thief in black is the most suspicious. He is the only stranger whose identity cannot be confirmed. At that time, he entered the mercenary guild with 2 special female guards. After him, although there were a few people who entered the mercenary guild, none of them were the recipients. General Jean Feng's voice paused for a moment before he coughed lightly. However, this human thief's strength is low. He might only be at Earth Stage Level 3. His 2 female guards are higher, but they are far from Heaven Stage. It's impossible for them to kill Heaven Stage experts like young Master Song Tao and the others. You mean he picked up the head? There was another Heaven Stage expert who ambushed young Master Song Tao and abandoned his corpse. This weak human thief happened to discover it. So he went to the mercenary guild to receive the reward? The master of Black Wind City was not a fool. Although he was angry, there were many things that he could understand. If that's the case, then this subordinate feels that it's very likely that someone wants to frame us. After General Jean Feng finished speaking, he stopped talking. That's right. We did take advantage of the last distribution of loot. In addition to the prosperity of the black market, it's normal for people to be jealous. A cold light flashed in the master of Black Wind City's eyes. He waved his hand and ordered, "Report to the Baisong sect. Tell them everything that has happened and the analysis of the case in detail. That old man Baisong is not a fool. It won't be easy for some people to instigate him to fight with us. Of course, we also need to prepare for 2 things. On one hand, we need to speed up the investigation of the real culprit. It's best to start with that weak human thief. Let's see who's generous recently. With a huge amount of money, it's impossible for the other party not to buy some treasures to protect themselves. On the other hand, we need to report to the Emerald Lord and ally with a few allies to mediate." General Jean Feng naturally accepted the order and sent out all his men to find a human thief with 2 female guards. At this time, Yu Yang had returned to being single. He took the heads of young Master Song Tao and the others to receive the reward. He deliberately summoned the war God Guard sisters to accompany him and distract the enemy's attention. Moreover, he was very cautious in using the identity of a human thief, deliberately revealing the strength of Earth Stage Level 3, especially when he walked in front of the patrolling guards and tavern mercenaries. He let these people see his strength and form the enemy's habitual thinking. When he turned back into a human, he turned back into a human merchant who didn't even have the strength of an Earth Stage. Then it would be very safe. No one would doubt him. No one would believe that a human merchant who wasn't even an Earth Stage could actually kill 3 Heaven Stage. Even a madman wouldn't think so. Slowly find the Heaven Stage powerhouse in your hearts. Yu Yang whistled all the way back to the hotel he had booked to rest. He was satisfied with tonight's harvest. The only regret was that the heads of the 2 guards weren't worth much. Perhaps it was because they had been guards for a long time, but the bounty for their heads at the peak of Heaven Stage Level 1 was only 10 million gold. only 1/5 of that of young Master Song Tao. The Mercenary Guild had imposed a heavy tax on Yu Yang's 70 million bounty. In addition to the application for data protection, the actual bounty that Yu Yang had received was only 60 million. The Mercenary Guild had taken away 10 million. If that was the case, Yu Yang's personal information couldn't be protected. Then who would dare to exchange heads for bounties? Of course, it wouldn't matter even if the Mercenary Guild leaked his personal information, because Yu Yang's registration information was that of a quasi-Earth stage Jun Wuyi, a traveling merchant from the Western Heaven Realm. Who knew Jun Wuyi? Other than the round-headed peddler Bao Gu, who had heard of this name, Yu Yang hadn't had the time to announce his name to a third person. Taking a step back, even if the round-headed peddler Bao Gu knew that Jun Wuyi had committed the crime, he wouldn't suspect Yu Yang. Who would believe that a human merchant who didn't even have the strength of an Earth stage could kill 3 Heaven stage warriors, including young Master Song Tao? Yu Yang, who had received a bounty of 60 million, rested in the grimoire world with a good dream and woke up naturally. Right now, he no longer had any pressure on money. As expected, robbing was the fastest way to earn money. Under the service of the half-elf slave, he had a sumptuous breakfast, changed into a set of warrior clothes that were more popular in Black Wind City, and swaggered out of the hotel. So it's Brother June, good afternoon. The round-headed peddler Bao Gu, whose face was full of smiles as if he had eaten an expired aphrodisiac, was bragging to the people around him. When he saw Yu Yang coming out, he immediately came up to him and greeted him with his hands. He then asked mysteriously, "Brother June, I'm sure you don't know about the earth-shattering event that happened last night, right?" "What?" Yu Yang pretended not to know, and his expression was very cooperative. "Young Master Song Tao is dead. He was beheaded on the spot, and it was a fatal blow." The round-head Bao Gu's expression was as if he had seen it with his own eyes. He used his hand to make a beheading gesture on his neck, and then showed Yu Yang his prophetic ability. He lowered his voice and said, "What did I say yesterday? I said, young Master Song Tao is arrogant and will be killed sooner or later. Yesterday, he was arrogant in the auction house, which made the Heaven Stage powerhouses unhappy. Last night at noon, he started to chase after him in the City Lord's mansion. Although young Master Song Tao also has the strength of Heaven Stage, how could he compare to the mysterious Heaven Stage powerhouses? In the end, under the protection of the 2 Heaven Stage guards, he only managed to escape 20 kilometers. He didn't even have time to hide in the villa before he was killed by the mysterious Heaven Stage at the entrance. I heard that the funniest thing is that the mysterious Heaven Stage powerhouses disdainfully left as if they were killing ants. Young Master Song Tao's head was discovered by a lucky thief and 2 female companions. They cut off his head and exchanged it for tens of millions of bounty before escaping. It's a pity that I had a banquet with Brother Ma last night. Otherwise, these tens of millions of bounty would have fallen into my pocket. So that's how it is." Yu Yang revealed an expression of sudden realization, and then expressed his regret. "Tens of millions of bounty. I've missed it just like that." "Yeah." The round-head Bao Gu was also a little disappointed, but he quickly regained his composure. This matter is definitely not over. How could the protective sect leader of Baisong's sect sit back and watch his beloved son be killed? He will definitely come to Black Wind City to investigate. There might even be a Heaven Stage battle at that time. Since that's the case, I'll stay and continue watching the show. Yu Yang nodded with a smile. If Brother June doesn't stay and watch, then it would be a waste. Come, let's go to the tavern and have a drink. I also have some gossip. It was spread by an acquaintance of the City Lord's. It's said that this matter. The round-head Bao Gu looked left and right, then lowered his voice and whispered into Yu Yang's ear, "I'm afraid this matter has something to do with the City Lord. However, you need to be careful with your words. Please rest assured, Brother Bao." However, I really didn't expect Brother Bao to be so resourceful. There are even people from the City Lord's mansion here. I really admire you. Yu Yang flattered him. He was so happy that the round-head Bao Gu almost floated up. In the distance, a luxuriously dressed giant mammoth horse came over. It was the fat pig-like Master Barton. Master Barton had no memory of Yu Yang, the human captive who had been eaten. He had long since forgotten about it. As long as that strange and gorgeous maid intentionally or unintentionally glanced at Yu Yang. To be able to find Yu Yang among the tens of thousands of people on the street, this eyesight was truly amazing. When Yu Yang raised his eyes and looked at her, she had already lowered her eyes and did not look at Yu Yang. She seemed to know that if she looked at him, Yu Yang would sense it. This guy is Master Barton, known as White Pig. On the surface, he is a jeweler, but in reality, he is a slave trader. He is also the city lord's number 2 lackey. The roundhead Baogu didn't dare to say anything. After the mammoth horse had left, he spat on the ground. Yu Yang reckoned that Baogu and Master Barton had some old grudges. It was just that he was weak and powerless to resist. Yu Yang changed the topic and asked, "Brother Bao, what's the good stuff in the auction house today?" This was the right question. The roundhead Baogu, who liked to show off as a teacher, immediately began to brag endlessly. The functions and prices of various items, as well as his personal evaluation, were all introduced to Yu Yang. Yu Yang was not interested in ordinary things. However, a name that Baogu mentioned made his heart tremble slightly. There aren't many good items in the recent auction. Most of the good items are saved up for the annual auction. You don't know who this year's finale slave is. You definitely won't be able to imagine it, and you probably haven't heard of it. However, her name is extremely resounding in our southern heaven realm. She was the captain of the Raging Flame Bandit Group, a female giant who had obtained the inheritance of the dragon blood. It was said that in order to capture her, who had a bounty of 530 million gold, a total of 10 Heaven Stage Level 4 and above had been sent out before they could successfully capture her. Are you talking about an ordinary Heaven Stage? A Heaven Stage Level 1, like young Master Song Tao, was simply delivering food. As long as the female, giant Raging Flame stretched out her hand, young Master Song Tao's egg yolk would explode. Of course, it was impossible for young Master Song Tao to surround and attack Raging Flame now. His head had already been removed. 1 billion. If I had 1 billion, I would definitely sell the female giant Raging Flame. Unfortunately, in the end, that silly girl Raging Flame was still caught by the clown. Yu Yang's expression did not change, but he was even more vigilant towards the clown. It seemed that he had underestimated the clown. Chapter 674. As for the female, giant Raging Flame, although Yu Yang was a little dizzy with her stubborn temper, he still had to save her. Firstly, if this kind of person could become a teammate, then the help by his side would greatly increase. Besides, Raging Flame wasn't a hopeless idiot. As long as she changed her stubborn ideals slightly, she would realize that it was impossible to act chivalrously. Even if she wanted to act chivalrously, she would still need sufficient strength and a better method. In other words, as long as the female giant Raging Flame, who liked to use brute force, was willing to listen to Yu Yang's arrangements, then everything would be simple. Yu Yang had already thought of a way to convince Raging Flame. He would be a great villain, fight her to the death, bully her, and then let Shui Wuxia save her. And Anne would be responsible for mediating and comforting her. With both of them working together, he would definitely be able to subdue this silly girl. Just as Yu Yang was thinking about this problem, the sound of gongs and drums could be heard from the streets outside. Yu Yang raised his head and looked around. He realized that there were hundreds of warriors celebrating. Some people were hanging flags and shouting slogans. Some people were throwing flowers everywhere to celebrate. Some people were distributing food, snacks, and various materials to the onlookers on the street. When these people got closer, Yu Yang was stunned to realize that this was not a festive parade, but a celebration of the murder of young Master Song Tao. The round-headed peddler Bao Gu ran out happily, picked up a few snacks, and began to eat happily. Seeing that Yu Yang didn't want it, he explained, "Don't doubt it. These are all food they sent out in gratitude. You are from the Western Heaven Realm, so you don't know what kind of trash young Master Song Tao is here. He is simply a great scourge, even more terrifying than those man-eating demon beasts." There were countless people who had been persecuted by him. The few hundred people who were celebrating today were considered few. If more people knew that he had been killed, there would be another grand celebration. Even I have been bullied by the 100 Pine Merchant Guild several times. Now, eating these snacks is like eating young Master Song Tao's meat. It's really satisfying, haha. The round-headed Bao Gu's words and the way he ate made Yu Yong blush with shame. He didn't expect that he had unintentionally done a good deed. He was clearly doing something bad. So how did this happen? Since that was the case, he might as well go all the way. Yu Yong skillfully asked the round-faced Bao Gu if there was anyone else in the city or nearby who was as rich and powerful as young Master Song Tao, who caused the wrath of the heavens and the people. That's too much. I think you can keep it a secret. Otherwise, you won't tell anyone. The round-faced Bao Gu began to brag again, showing how knowledgeable he was. Brother Bao, why don't we find a tavern and chat while we eat? Yu Yong discovered that the information that could not be bought at a high price in the Mercenary Guild could be obtained from Bao Gu's mouth without even a single gold coin. Moreover, all kinds of information were very clear, including the war beasts of Heaven Stage, skills, hobbies, habits, and so on. This roundhead Bao Gu, he knew everything like the back of his hand. Yu Yong treated Bao Gu to a meal and went to the auction house together. While paying attention to the movements of the auction items he was interested in, he listened to Bao Gu's extensive introduction. Gradually, as the relationship between the two of them rose from strangers to friends, Yu Yong also gained a comprehensive understanding of the Southern Heaven Realm, or at least the Emerald Territory. Yu Yong had an 80 to 90% understanding of the Heaven Stage experts in the entire Emerald Territory, the various city lords, the various sects, the various mercenary groups, the various bandit groups, the various demonic beasts, the various specialties, and even some solitary cultivators. Other than some hidden ultimate moves of the Heaven Stage, there was probably no information that Bao Gu did not know about in the Emerald Territory. This guy had a big mouth, but his ability to gather information was not bad. His eloquence was not bad, but he liked to show off a little. In the evening, when Yu Yong returned to the Grimoire world, he was in a very good mood. When he saw the half-elf slave dressed in a maid's uniform, he couldn't help but hug her and kiss her. The half-elf slave was both shy and happy. She was stunned for a long time before she reacted. She felt that her relationship with her master had made new progress after this kiss, and it also increased her confidence. "Master, I'll give you a shoulder massage." While Yu Yong was bathing, the half-elf slave mustered up his courage, resisted his shyness, and changed into the swimsuit he had designed for himself. He took the initiative to go into the water and massage his shoulders. Yu Yong looked at the half-elf girl who had changed into a bikini swimsuit. Her snow-white breasts towered majestically in front of her. The small bikini swimsuit was unable to hide her ample bosom at all. Instead, it looked even more exaggerated. With the contrast of her slender waist and long legs, it gave people an explosive visual impact. Yu Yong subconsciously covered his nose with his hand. Fortunately, there was no nosebleed. However, that kind of visual shock could definitely kill all the carbon-based creatures in the world called otaku. The half-elf slave saw his master's expression and found the splendor in his eyes. He was secretly delighted. Master really liked his bold display. He didn't say it, but he definitely liked it. "Well, I have to work harder. Come on." The brave half-elf slave clenched his fists and cheered himself on. She was very good at swimming, and her posture was as beautiful as a mermaid's. She gently slid behind Yu Yong and first bravely hugged Yu Yong, feeling the happiness that she was looking forward to. After a short hug, the half-elf slave, who felt incomparably happy, immediately took out the most gentle massage technique and seriously massaged Yu Yong. Serving her master and making him the happiest person in the world was her ultimate dream. Blackwind City, City Lord's Mansion. Bam! A jade cup worth 1,000 gold was smashed into pieces by Black Wind on the pure white ground paved with nebulous stones. At this moment, the master of Blackwind City, who was so angry that his face was distorted, roared at General Jean Foam. "Damn it, can't you let me sleep peacefully? Last night, young Master Song Tao died, and I was still having a headache on how to explain it to Bai Song. Now, you said that the elder of the Lanjiang sect, Black Su, was killed. Could it be that all the bad luck in the Southern Heaven Realm has come to my Black Wind City? Young Master Song Tao was killed because he was arrogant and had countless enemies. But what about the elder of the Lanjiang sect, Black Su? Although he is a murderer from the Southern Heaven Realm, he has no enemies in the Emerald Territory. I have just negotiated an alliance with the Lanjiang sect, and before Black Su has even left the territory, he was killed. This is undoubtedly telling the sect leader of the Lanjiang sect, Ju, that I have maliciously torn apart the alliance agreement. This is the complete opposite of my original intention. The alliance medicine that I have been looking forward to for a long time has been destroyed just like that. General Jean Feng waited for the master of Black Wind City to finish venting his anger. He lowered his head and slowly raised it. City Lord, what this subordinate said is the truth. After the master of Black Wind City heard this, he took a deep breath. That's right, it's a fait accompli. What's done is done. What's done is done. It's useless to act rashly now. How to deal with it, how to remedy it, this is the most important thing. Now, without guessing, Black Wind understood what was going on. Someone was framing him. The real target was neither young Master Song Tao nor Elder He Suo, but himself. Based on the deaths of young Master Song Tao and Elder He Suo, this was only the beginning. There would probably be more attacks in the future. How did Elder He Suo die? Elder He Suo, who was at the second level of Heaven Stage, was a famous expert of the Lanjiang sect. He was different from that playboy, young Master Song Tao. The corpse is missing, and it is impossible to investigate the cause of death. However, his head has been taken to Greenleaf City, which is 3,000 miles away, to collect the bounty. Coincidentally, I have a spy lurking in the mercenary guild of Greenleaf City as a guard. When he received this information, he immediately reported it to me. General Jean Feng replied. Who is the recipient? The master of Black Wind City wanted to know who the recipient was the most. Perhaps he could use this clue to track down the assailant. It is said that she's a half-elf girl who doesn't even have the strength of an Earth stage. Her face is covered, so it is impossible to see her true face. However, her strength is low, this is certain. In addition, this half-elf girl also has a very special body fragrance. That guard is a hound and has a keen sense of smell. If that half-elf girl appears again, even if she changes her attire, I believe that she will not be able to hide from her. General Jean Feng didn't think that the half-elf girl had killed Elder He Suo. He reckoned that she was just passing by and couldn't help but cut off her head to receive the reward when she saw the dead Heaven Stage. As for why she didn't go to the nearby Black Wind City, but to Greenleaf City, one reason was that when she came out of Black Wind City, she knew that the death of young Master Song Tao in Black Wind City had caused a huge ruckus, so she didn't dare to return to the mercenary guild of Black Wind City to receive the reward. The other reason was that she might be a resident of Greenleaf City and had a teleportation crystal from Greenleaf City, so she directly teleported back to Greenleaf City and received the bounty in a city she was more familiar with. This conjecture was not only General Jean Feng, but also the master of Black Wind City. The assailant definitely had nothing to do with the half-elf girl or the human thief from before, because the strength of these people was too low. The murderer must be someone else. This murderer was constantly killing, and his goal was to frame Black Wind City. It seemed that he was going to make this place a bloody mess. The master of Black Wind City thought for a while, then suddenly said to General Jean Feng, since the enemy is so rampant, then let's play with them and see whose methods are more brilliant. He's in the dark, and I'm in the light. I have to use a trick to lure him out from the dark. I have a plan, and you have to execute it immediately. As long as the plan succeeds, the murderer will be tricked, and we will have the chance to ambush and kill the murderer. The master of Black Wind City was indeed a cunning person. He quickly thought of a poisonous plan to lure the snake out of its hole. He whispered to General Jean Feng. After General Jean Feng heard this, his eyes lit up. He nodded repeatedly and went out with a face full of joy to carry out the plan that Black Wind had given him. To be able to kill He Suo. Who could the murderer be? Suo was at the second level of heaven stage, 10 times stronger than young Master Song Tao. If the murderer didn't kill him in an instant, then his strength should be around the third level of heaven stage. If the murderer's strength far exceeds the third level of heaven stage, then there's no need to fear me. From the looks of it, he must be below me and above Suo. Within this boundary of heaven stage, who would be my enemy in the Emerald Territory? The master of Black Wind City continued to narrow down the range of imaginary enemies. Unfortunately, he couldn't imagine that the real murderer came from Tong Tian Tower. What was even more unexpected was that everything he had guessed was an illusion that Yu Yang had deliberately created. After continuing with young Master Song Tao, he had also obtained Elder Suo's treasures. However, due to time constraints, he didn't have the time to sort them out for the time being. The subsequent attacks were still going on. There was no harm in leaving the spoils of war until he returned to Tong Tian Tower and slowly sorting them out. Under the gentle massage of the half-elf slave, Yu Yang comfortably fell into a deep sleep. She bowed down without realizing it, secretly kissing him. Chapter 675. The next day, Yu Yang stretched his body, full of energy, and opened the door. A face appeared in front of him. Originally, Yu Yang thought it was the big-mouthed man with the round head Bao Gu, but when he looked closely, he was shocked. This person was someone he would never have imagined. She was actually one of the beautiful maids beside Master Barton. Today, she wasn't wearing a maid's uniform. She was wearing a female warrior's armor, and her explosive upper circumference almost didn't crack the breastplate. Not only did the tight-fitting armor not affect the beauty of her curves. On the contrary, under this contrast, it added a unique kind of sexy magic, captivating one's soul and captivating one's mind. Yu Yang immediately recognized that it was Master Barton's beautiful maid. However, he pretended to be stupid on the surface and revealed a wolf-like gaze. He sized her up and said, "Did this big sister come to the wrong door?" Originally, this kind of lecherous gaze that couldn't wait to strip a person's clothes was the most disgusting to beauties. Yu Yang deliberately did this to test the other party. I don't think I went the wrong way. The hot and sexy beauty with a natural sexy and enchanting temperament walked into the door in a natural and unrestrained manner, as if she was walking into her own house. "You're the red card side Jinhua that I spent 10 gold on." As expected of a red card. Her breasts are big enough and her skin is white. 10 gold is not a loss. Yu Yang began to take off his clothes as he anxiously closed the door. "Quick, I've been waiting for you all night. Let's not rush to wash up. Let's do it first. What moves are you good at? Take them out and serve me. If you make me feel good, I'll reward you with another 10 gold. His performance was even worse than that of an anxious mercenary. If an ordinary beauty saw him like this, it would be strange if she didn't kick him and leave angrily. There's no red card called Sai Jinhua in Black Wind City. With a smile on her lips, the enchanting beauty came in front of Yu Yang and helped him put on his clothes one by one. She chuckled and said, "Don't be suspicious. I'm not a bad person. You may not be a bad person, but I can't guarantee that I'm a good person." Yu Yang also laughed. "Actually, it doesn't matter to me who you are. I only need to know that you are a very capable man. That is enough." The enchanting beauty suddenly straightened her face and said in all seriousness, "I came this time to form an alliance with you. You have a power that I can't see through. I need a helper like that." "What alliance?" Yu Yang asked. "I want to take back a very, very important thing. It's impossible with my 3rd rank heaven rank strength. I need a stronger helper. In the beginning, my goal was the female captive of the annual auction, Raging Flames. With her strength, she was my ideal assistant. However, on the way there, I coincidentally met you, and I suddenly felt that my goal could be revised. If there is an expert who can instantly kill young Master Song Tao and Elder Suo, then my goal will be easier to achieve. That sexy and enchanting beauty whose eyes could easily steal a man's soul moved closer to Yu Yang. Her cherry lips almost touched his lips, and her breath lightly breathed on his face. She whispered softly in his ear with a sweet and charming voice. "You're at the third level of heaven's stage?" Yu Yang asked, playing dumb. "On the surface, my strength is at the 8th level of Earth stage, but through some secret technique, I can recover my hidden strength for a short period of time. With the help of the war beast, it won't be a problem for me to reach the peak of the 3rd level of heaven's stage." The enchanting beauty replied, "Since you're so powerful, why are you working as a maid by Master Barton's side?" Yu Yang had another question. Barton is a pervert. He is incompetent, but he likes strong and masculine men to burst his chrysanthemum, and he also likes to be whipped. It's just that he has a special war beast like the slippery skin beast. Any whip or injury will immediately recover. No one knows his secret, except for a heaven stage assistant who is loyal to him. His large group of maids, on the surface, appear to be extravagant and lascivious, but in fact, they are all women he bought to cover his eyes and ears. The sexy and enchanting beauty gently slid her rose-red finger across the corner of Yu Yang's lips and said with a charming smile, "I'm a subordinate, an important client of his. I entered Black Wind City in the name of carrying precious ornaments to the auction house among the maids, but I'm not his maid. Besides, can a man like you, who has seen countless women, see that I'm a little flower that hasn't bloomed yet? Don't pretend to be jealous to bully a little girl, okay? I can't let you suspect me. Otherwise, I'll be too disappointed. I've seen countless women." Yu Yang didn't know when he had become a playboy. "You didn't? Right now, your clothes have a faint woman's body fragrance, but it's different from the woman's body fragrance on the day we met by chance, and it's also different from the day we met at the entrance of the Treading Gold building. My nose is very sensitive. I definitely won't be wrong." The enchanting beauty giggled. "Is that so?" Yu Yang sweated profusely. "That's right. Yu Yang's clothes were usually washed by the girls. The clothes he had changed were washed by Yu Yu, Fallen Flowers, and Sickly Beauty, as well as by Fourth Mother, Yu Bing, and Inan. If she had time, sometimes Princess Sisai, that rouge tigress, would also help Yu Yang wash his clothes, although it was rare. As for Shui Wuxia, she usually only made clothes for him. Most of the time, she left the opportunity to wash clothes for Yu Yu and the others. Whether it was the new clothes made by Shui Wuxia or the old clothes washed by Yu Yu and the others. Naturally, they all carried a faint body fragrance. This was extremely light, and it required a strong sense of smell to distinguish it. Among all the girls, except for the half-elf slave who had the smell recognition inherent skill, no one could completely distinguish the different body fragrances left on Yu Yang's clothes. Even Princess Sisai, who had the 6 records inherent skill, couldn't do it. This was because Yu Yang's body was emitting a masculine aura, which greatly covered up the woman's remaining fragrance. She was able to blend far away and distinguish the different body fragrances of different clothes. It seemed that this enchanting and sexy beauty was really not a simple person. She could even distinguish the difference in the body fragrance left on the clothes. How could the natural smell of Yu Yang's body be hidden from her? No wonder she could accurately find Yu Yang's residence. It seemed that this had a lot to do with her ability to smell. What made Yu Yang most vigilant was her ability to hide her strength. With Yu Yang's current Heaven Eyes divine vision, he could only see that she was at the 2nd level of Heaven stage. She herself said that she was at the 2nd level of Heaven stage, which proved that there was still a part of her hidden strength that had not been completely seen through. Could it be that this girl also had a double inherent skill? If you are willing to form an offensive and defensive alliance with me, I will definitely not let you suffer a loss. If you take back that thing, you can ask for any treasures you want. If you really don't like it, and I have no way to repay you, I will just give you that." The sexy and enchanting beauty's jade face suddenly had a few traces of red, adding to the charm of temptation. Seeing this, Yu Yang's heart couldn't help but beat faster and soar by 300. The beauty seemed to be ashamed and angry at the same time. She rolled her eyes at him and showed the charm of a girl to the fullest. Fortunately, it was Yu Yang. If it was another man with slightly weaker willpower, he would have already submitted to her and was willing to give up everything for her. Even if he had to die for her, he would not hesitate. Which one? Yu Yong pretended not to understand. You're bad, that one. You're not allowed to bully others. The sexy and enchanting beauty pretended to stomp her feet angrily. Even with the protection of her chest armor, her explosive upper circumference produced a beautiful tremor that could melt one's soul. It could kill all otakus in an instant. Since you can eat and take, what you want to do must not be simple, right? Yu Yong secretly swallowed a mouthful of saliva. You just need to help me get back one thing. The beauty indicated that this was very simple. What thing? Yu Yong expressed his doubt. The Emerald Territory, including 100 cities. The beauty said very easily. Such a simple thing. Unfortunately, I can't do it. Yu Yong directly pushed the enchanting beauty out of the door and closed it. Send the guest off. Don't worry, you still have a month to think about it. A month later, when the enemy escorts raging flames to Black Wind City, we'll save her and increase our strength. It won't be too late for you to slowly reply to me. Although I can't confirm it, I have a feeling that you're also here for her. Good man, I'll always be waiting for you. The sexy and enchanting beauty laughed outside the door and floated away. After the beauty left, Yu Yong thought for a long time. He was 100% sure. There must be some kind of ability or treasure on that woman that could detect the strength of others. Although he had the talent of disguise, under the detection of the opponent's treasure or ability, he still exposed a portion of his flaws. If he hadn't killed young Master Song Tao and Elder Hei Suo, she wouldn't have suspected him so quickly. She must have gone to the scene to investigate. With her sharp sense of smell, she would definitely be able to smell a trace of his remaining aura. At the very least, she locked her suspicions on herself. Fortunately, she wasn't a subordinate of the master of Black Wind City and Barton, but their enemy. According to Bao Gu, there had been a serious rebellion in the Emerald Territory before. Even the Emerald Lord had been severely injured, but with the help of a regent emperor from the Southern Heaven Realm, the rebellion quickly subsided. Judging from the woman's words, the rebellion had actually succeeded. The master of the Emerald Territory had actually been secretly changed, but the people below did not know about it. The woman just now should be the daughter of the former Emerald Lord or a disciple of his sect. With her own strength, she wanted to regain the Emerald Territory. This matter was even more difficult than ascending to the heavens. Not to mention the strength of the Emerald Lord, she couldn't even defeat the master of Black Wind City. Black Wind City was only one of the 100 cities under the Emerald Territory. Yu Yong wouldn't meddle in this kind of business. If he had the time, he might as well kill a few more Heaven Stage cultivators, save up some money, and buy materials to refine martial god pills for Yu Bing and the others to increase their potential. Fighting and killing those national affairs. Then forget it. It's better to have more personal relationships. Besides, a truly awesome person wouldn't care about a small Emerald Territory like Queen Vivian Li, sweeping through the entire Heaven Realm, making all the powerful people in the Heaven Realm disheartened, and becoming a conquering empress who looked down on all living things. That would be awesome. Of course, Yu Yong wouldn't obstruct the other party's ideals. After all, it was better for a person to have ideals than nothing. Huh? Yu Yong discovered that there was a strong aura of Heaven Stage descending from the sky. A rude and unreasonable voice rang out. All the warriors, merchants, and residents of Black Wind City, listen carefully. Everyone must go to the stall in front of the City Lord's mansion to register. If anyone disobeys, they will be regarded as accomplices of the attack on young Master Song Tao. If anyone leaves the city, they will be killed. Chapter 676. Within Black Wind City, not only had the entire city been re-registered, they had also obtained a type of testing crystal to test the target's strength. In addition, there were also detailed inquiries about all kinds of privacy, such as war beasts, skills, weapons, armor, money, occupation, identity, friends, and so on. Of course, it was impossible to use this method to find out the real murderer, Yu Yong. With the camouflage inherent skill and the ability to control his energy freely. The result of the crystal's test was undoubtedly that he was a quasi-Earth stage. Because his strength was extremely low, Yu Yang's identity registration did not attract anyone's attention. He asked a few questions. For example, Yu Yang casually reported the golden seeking mouse as a war beast. When the guy in charge of registration saw this kind of super weak puppet beast without any battle power, he had no desire to continue asking. He hastily filled in a few items and then chased Yu Yang away. He felt that it was a waste of time to investigate this kind of trash. There was another thing that made Yu Yang very unhappy, and that was that the master of Blackwind City had used his privilege as the city lord to stop the black market's business for 3 days. The excuse was to unify the registration information. Since the black market was not open, it seemed that Yu Yang would have to delay the purchase of alchemy ingredients that he wanted to purchase. This would greatly affect his original alchemy plan. Regarding the registration and investigation on the surface, he was actually stalling for time and mobilizing heaven-ranked rankers. Forget about Yu Yang. Even an 8-year-old child could see through this plan. However, the master of Blackwind City was clearly using his privileges to suppress others. He was a heaven stage expert and had the strength. In this heaven realm, where whoever had the bigger fist was the boss, there was really nothing he could do. The black market is closed for the next 3 days, and you can't leave the city. Do you want me to accompany you for a stroll in the city and relax? The enchanting beauty deliberately brushed past Yu Yang and asked mischievously, "You are?" Yu Yang pretended not to know her. "Yeah, I think I recognized the wrong person. I thought you were that Brad Jun Wu Yi." She winked at Yu Yang. Her waist was slender like a willow, and her buttocks swayed. Even her back view exuded a fatal allure as she drifted away. It was unknown how many souls she took with her as she left. "Oh my God, you know such a beautiful girl. How come I didn't know?" The round-head Bao Gu opened his mouth wide, and drool flowed out for 3 feet. "Didn't she just say that she mistook me for someone else?" Yu Yang was having a headache. "But she knows your name." The round-faced Bao Gu suddenly noticed this important point. "You must have heard wrongly." Yu Yang could only deny it again and again. In any case, he was determined not to admit it. "That's right. A weakling like you who doesn't even have the strength of an Earth Stage level 1. It's impossible for her to know you. You know what? She was as beautiful as a goddess. Earth Stage level 8, just a little bit away from Heaven Stage. She was so young. She would definitely be a Heaven rank expert in the future. The beautiful goddess of Heaven Stage. She was so beautiful and so powerful. Her eyes were as bright as the stars. If she was willing to look at me, then I would die immediately. It would not be a loss. If she is willing to take me in as a slave, I will follow her for the rest of my life and be a loyal slave to her forever. I've decided from now on, I will be her slave. I will listen to her orders for the rest of my life." The round-faced Bao Gu was still immersed in his despicable fantasies. Yu Yang couldn't stand him and quickly left. When Yu Yang returned to the hotel, just as he entered the door, a group of elite Griffin Knights descended from the sky behind him. They were the Lionheart King's subordinates, the elites of the Thunder Griffin Squad. Immediately after, dozens of Baisong's sect disciples dressed in mourning clothes streaked across the sky under the leadership of several elders, carrying an aura of grief and indignation, heading straight for the City Lord's mansion. 10 disciples of the Lanjiang sect with silver belts around their waists also flew over from afar. Although their numbers were not as great as the Baisong sects, all of them were above the 7th level of Earth Stage, especially the middle-aged man in the lead. His appearance was unprepossessing, and his clothes were simple and ordinary. On the surface, his strength was at the 1st level of Heaven Stage, but only Yu Yang's divine eyes could see through him. This middle-aged man's hidden strength was actually at the 4th level of Heaven Stage. This man was even stronger than the master of Blackwind City, who was at the peak of the 3rd level of Heaven Stage. Yu Yang's heart trembled slightly. It seemed that this middle-aged man was the leader of the Lanjiang sect, Zhu Hu. With Yu Yang's strength and realm, he wasn't afraid of high-level experts, but he felt that those with true strength were very difficult to deal with. Although this Ju Hu and guild leader Yong Hui were both at the 4th level of heaven stage, and guild leader Yong Hui even claimed to have the strength of a peak 4th level of heaven stage, in Yu Yang's eyes. Even with the sunny sunflower, the spirit of radiance, the fast finger light tooth, and the black smoke horn dragon, as well as his own strength, it was impossible for guild leader Yong Hui to defeat this middle-aged uncle. Ju Hu. On the contrary, if Ju Hu fought to the death and killed guild leader Yong Hui, Yu Yang felt that it was very possible. What was a formidable opponent? The answer was that this middle-aged uncle, Ju Hu, was the true formidable opponent that Yu Yang had encountered in the Heaven Realm. In the Heaven Realm, the one that gave Yu Yang the feeling of a formidable opponent was the Lionheart King. Other than the clown, the next one was this Ju Hu. Even the extremely powerful bald man, the wise demon marshal, would probably be ranked a little behind him. In the sky, a dragon's roar could be heard. Yu Yang quickly returned to his room. He knew that a person had come, Long Xiang. Although he didn't know if Long Xiang would be able to recognize him among the tens of millions of people, it was best not to meet him. According to the current situation, the Lionheart King, the Clown, Black Wind, and even the Emerald Lord behind them were all closely connected by a chain of interest. As long as any side's interests were touched, they would unite and protect each other. Of course, they weren't as united as a piece of iron. As long as the chain of interest was broken, their alliance would immediately vanish into thin air. That was because these people only cared about benefits. They wouldn't get up early without benefits. In the other direction of the city, a rumbling sound could be heard, like thunder exploding in the air. An old man with an eagle nose and sharp eyes was fighting with the master of Black Wind City in the sky. His casual attack was like a bolt of lightning piercing through the sky. Not to mention the city lord's mansion, even the entire Black Wind City was trembling. This old man was probably young Master Song Tao's father, the sect leader of the Bai Song sect, Old Man Bai Song. Although he knew that his beloved son was not killed by the master of Black Wind City, he still vented his anger on Black Wind. Before everyone could console him, a fight was inevitable. This was also a matter of face as a sect leader. If he didn't even get angry when his son was killed, what would others think? What would the sect think? Yu Yang told the waiter that he needed to rest for 3 days and should not be disturbed. This action did not attract much attention, because many honest merchants had decided to hide for 3 days in order to be safe. If they ran out to watch the show and got caught in the flames of war, it would be too unlucky, especially since young Master Song Tao of the Bai Song sect had been killed. The Bai Song sect had nowhere to vent their hatred. If someone were to fall into their hands, they would definitely die. Pretending to sleep, Yu Yang used the 3-realm compass to return to Rainbow Castle. No matter how chaotic the Southern Heaven Realm was, what did it have to do with him? On the contrary, the more chaotic, the better. Yu Yang could take advantage of the chaos. With the red stone of Swan Lake, Yu Yang's confidence in fusing the Angel's Blade and the Spirit of Radiance had greatly increased. However, Yi was a little embarrassed as she politely rejected Yu Yang's suggestion. Shui Wuxia and Princess Sisai weren't here. Sickly Beauty was accompanying Fourth Mother at the Mirage. No one was here. Even Yu Bing and Anan had gone to cultivate after the night. She was the only one left in this small garden. She really didn't dare to agree to Yu Yang's request. He was afraid that he wouldn't be able to control himself and do something wrong. Although she believed in his willpower and felt that she wouldn't do that, she was still worried that she wouldn't create this kind of opportunity to be alone and cultivate together. Next time, she was afraid that her brother would be disappointed, so she didn't completely reject his good intentions. Are you not feeling well? It's fine. Let's talk about it in a few days. Let's plant some firefly bamboo first. Yu Yang misunderstood in his heart. He thought that Yu Yu's good friend had come and her body wasn't feeling well, so she refused to cooperate with him to fuse the Angel's Blade with the Spirit of Radiance. In any case, with the red stone of Swan Lake, Yu Yang wasn't in a hurry. He planted the firefly bamboo he had snatched back at the side of Rainbow Castle. This kind of firefly bamboo had the magical effect of attracting the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. He didn't feel it when he first planted it, but after a long time, especially when the firefly bamboo slowly spread into a bamboo forest, the spiritual energy of heaven and earth gathered would be very considerable. This is the firefly bamboo. In Tong Tian Tower, it might have already been extinct. Yesterday, the various races sent all kinds of materials. Almost all the races used their strength, but there was no such firefly bamboo. This must be very expensive, right? Yu habitually took out a handkerchief and wiped Yu Yang's sweat. It's indeed quite expensive. Of course, Yu Yang wouldn't say that he had obtained it after killing young Master Song Tao. He gave his sister a price of 85,000 gold. Where did you get so much money? Yu was a little strange. Wasn't her brother worried about money a few days ago? All of a sudden, he had the money to buy 85,000 gold of firefly bamboo. If it was 1,000 gold to buy the redstone of Swan Lake that no one knew about, then it would be fine. This firefly bamboo was clearly a good thing. 85,000 gold. Where did he get the money from? Yu Yang sweated profusely. Fortunately, he reacted quickly and immediately mentioned that young Master Song Tao was a heinous villain who raped women and harmed one side. In the dark of the night, when he was preparing to commit a crime, he acted bravely. In order to save a weak woman, he bravely stepped forward and fought against young Master Song Tao, who had 2 Heaven Stage experts protecting him. After an earth-shattering battle, he finally defeated the scoundrel and saved the world. No, he saved a weak woman. Yu Yang, who learned from Lei Feng and did good deeds without leaving his name, was also rewarded. The Mercenary Guild rewarded him with 50 million gold coins because this 50 million gold coins was the joint reward of countless victims. That was the evidence of young Master Song Tao's murder. 50 million. Yu felt a little dizzy. Wasn't this young Master Song Tao too valuable? However, if it was a Heaven Stage expert, 50 million really didn't seem to be a lot. After all, this little brother of hers had only fought in the Heaven Realm once, and the bounty on him was already 100 million. That's right. It's precisely because of this money that I have the money to buy the firefly bamboo and the redstone of Swan Lake. Yu Yang expressed that he was a good child. He traded fairly and would definitely not do the business of killing people and seizing their treasures. If you kill someone, the other party's family will definitely take revenge. You must be careful. Yu didn't care about money at all. She only cared about her brother's safety. Don't worry, I don't leave my name when I do good deeds. No one will know that I did it. Yu Yang smiled proudly. I knew you'd be like this. Yu wasn't a stupid girl. She knew that most of what her brother said was true, but there was definitely something fishy going on. With her understanding of Yu Yang, how could she not know what kind of person he was? However, she didn't care about right or wrong. Besides, he wasn't wrong. Yu was more at ease with this little brother of hers. He was a little mischievous, but he was definitely not a bad person. If he said that young Master Song Tao was a bad guy, that guy was definitely not a good person and deserved to be killed. She absolutely believed him on this point. 3 days passed quickly. During this period, Sickly Beauty came back to accompany Yu Yang for 2 days, letting him vent his masculine anger with infinite gentleness. Because they had reunited after a short separation, the two of them made a little louder. Yu had no choice but to quickly enter a dormant state and pretend not to hear anything. During the day, he would study pill formulas with Yu and Sickly Beauty, where he would practice battle skills with the Dragon Lady sisters. They were familiar with each other, and such a happy time passed quickly. 3 days passed quickly. Yu Yang bid farewell to Yu and Sickly Beauty and returned to Black Wind City in the Southern Heaven Realm. After returning to the hotel, Yu Yang discovered that his bed seemed to have an extremely faint fragrance. Could it be that sexy, seductive beauty had sneaked in asleep? Forget it. She was the enemy of the master of Black Wind City, and during the period of trying to rope him in, she would definitely not reveal her secret. Yu Yang put aside all his thoughts and decided to go out and scout for information. As soon as he opened the door, the round-head, Bao Gu's ugly face appeared in front of him. You can't be? You slept in your room for 3 whole days? Don't tell me that you don't know anything about all the big things that happened in Black Wind City? You really don't know? All right, for the sake of the sincere request in your eyes, I'll tell you. Listen, this is still you. I won't tell anyone else. The roundhead Bao Gu's heart that liked to brag floated up again. In front of Yu Yang, he felt that he had the ability to know everything. Talking to such a person was the proudest and most impressive moment of his life. Of course, he wasn't surprised because this kid came from the Western Heaven realm and knew nothing about this place. Chapter 677. According to the gossip of the round-head Bao Gu, Yu Yang had a comprehensive understanding of the current situation in Black Wind City. First of all, Bai Song, whose beloved son had been killed, had reached an agreement with the master of Black Wind City and worked together. Similarly, as the mediator between the two sides, the Lionheart King's envoy, Marshal Long Xiang, also joined the investigation team as a neutral third party. Then there was the Lanjiang sect's Zhu Hu. He unexpectedly rejected the master of Black Wind City's reconciliation and demanded that the Black Wind hand over the murderer as soon as possible, or meet him in battle. If it wasn't for the arrival of Marshal Long Xiang, he would have fought with Black Wind to the point of no return. Unlike Bai Song, the battle between Zhu Hu and Black Wind was a real one. Moreover, Zhu Hu's strength was extremely terrifying. Fortunately, the location of the battle was a manor 50 kilometers outside the city. Otherwise, the entire Black Wind City would have been razed to the ground. Even though they were 50 kilometers apart, the shock of the battle still came from afar, almost affecting them. According to Bao Gu's insider information, Zhu was able to fight against the combined forces of Black Wind, General Jin Feng, and Bai Song, 3 Heaven Stage experts. This Lanjiang sect leader was unbelievably powerful. In addition, the second piece of news stunned Yu Yang. While Black Wind and Zhu, who were fighting, a mysterious thief appeared in the city and snuck into the city lord's mansion. Because the master of Black Wind City was out, no one in the mansion noticed the thief's infiltration. All the treasures inside were swept away, and the master of Black Wind City suffered heavy losses. The third major event was that the Griffin Elite Squad, under the command of Marshal Long Xiang, seemed to have discovered something when they were searching for traces of killing young Master Song Tao. However, on their way back to report to Marshal Long Xiang, they were suddenly attacked by a Heaven Stage expert and were completely annihilated. When this news came out, the entire city was once again shaken. It was said that even the Lionheart King was alarmed and sent out the dragon-armored Scarlet Cavalry to assist Marshal Long Xiang in investigating the case. Why did you sleep for 3 days? You missed such a good thing, but it's fine. I believe it will be even more exciting later. The roundhead Bao Gu did not suspect Yu Yang's absence. This was because Yu Yang wasn't the only one who could sleep for 3 days. Many races that had time to hibernate had this ability. Not to mention 3 days of hibernation, it wasn't difficult for them to sleep for 3 months or even 3 years. Yu Yang was secretly analyzing all the major events that had happened. It seemed that the sexy beauty had already made her move. The second and third major events were most likely done by her or her companions. Was she secretly helping him? Or should he create trouble to attract the Lionheart King's attention and drag him down with him? The Lionheart King was paying attention here. So how was he supposed to extricate himself? If the female flame giant was in Black Wind City, Yu Yang would have just saved her. Unfortunately, she wasn't here. She was somewhere else. There was no news from Raging Flames for the time being, so he still had to wait. As for the Lionheart King's attention, he could only go along with it. At most, he would return to Tong Tian Tower for a vacation. It was impossible for that sexy and enchanting beauty to use him as a tool. Let's go and see what's up for auction. Yu Yang's calm performance made the roundhead Bao Gu admire him greatly. Brother Jun is indeed worthy of coming from the Western Heaven realm. He has traveled a lot, and his mentality is extremely good. I dare say that in Black Wind City right now, the only person who still has the mind to pay attention to business is probably Brother Jun. The roundhead Bao Gu indicated that Black Wind City had entered the first level of war alert. The black market would be closed for the next 10 days. Only after the war was over, the murderer was arrested, and the disputes between the various sects were over, would the black market continue to open? What about the annual auction? Yu Yang asked about the annual auction that he was most concerned about. If it can end before then, it won't affect the annual auction. If it really can't be done, the annual auction might be held in the Whistling Stronghold or Moonview City. The Roundhead Baogu also felt a little regretful. The merchants and residents of the Whistling Stronghold in Moonview City are extremely xenophobic. You stinky outsiders, hurry up and go back to your countryside. They will definitely say that. If we change to those two places and hold the annual auction, then I'm afraid we won't even be able to get a seat, let alone get anything good. It can't be? Yu Yang was shocked. Hey, the Whistling Stronghold is the #1 stronghold in the Emerald Territory, and the Moonview City is the wealthiest city in the Emerald Territory. In the eyes of the residents there, we are just beggars from the countryside. If we go to their place, the city guards will have 100 reasons to search for outsiders who enter the city, and the privileges of insulting outsiders can be seen everywhere. In the Moonview City, many places have a clear rule. Outsiders and low-intelligence races are not allowed to enter. The Roundhead Baogu also didn't want the annual auction to be held in the Whistling Stronghold or the Moonview City. Although Blackwind City wasn't a very good place to live, it was better than freedom. There were more taxes, but there was still a way to survive here. If he were to go to the rich and luxurious Moonview City, a small peddler like the Roundhead Baogu wouldn't even be able to afford the smallest house. He wouldn't even be able to find a job. If he went, there would only be death. Yu Yang listened to the Roundhead Baogu's introduction and was speechless. Sure enough, regional discrimination existed everywhere. The Huaxia dynasty was like this, but he didn't expect that the Emerald Territory of the Heaven Realm would also be like this. Although the black market was not open, under the introduction of the Roundhead Baogu, Yu Yang was still able to buy a lot of the materials he wanted. For the first time, Yu Yang felt a sense of approval for this ugly, gossipy man. In the Heaven Realm, without strength or capital, it was not easy to live. People like the Roundhead Baogu, everything he did was just a way of life that was forced by reality. If there was a better life, who would be willing to live like this? Under Baogu's recommendation, Yu Yang went to a large chamber of commerce called Chidu in Blackwind City and got to know the vice president there. He spent 300,000 more, but he bought the 3,000-year-old hard-shell dragon fruit that Yu Yang had always yearned for. After the deal, Yu Yang and the vice president, who had been bribed with a large sum of money, were very satisfied. They even made a verbal agreement to continue working together. It's all thanks to Brother Bao today. Otherwise, this deal would not have been completed. Yu Yang flattered Baogu and rewarded him with 10,000 gold. This sum of money stunned the Roundhead Baogu. Of course, he would receive a bounty, but he never dreamed that it would be so much. Brother Jun, is there a mistake? Baogu rubbed his hands uneasily. He realized that the gold coins that Yu Yang had transferred to his card were 10,000, not 1,000. In fact, 1,000 gold was already the highest estimate in his heart. Originally, he didn't make much contribution during the entire transaction, and the vice president was greedy. Seeing that the other party was eager to buy, he asked for a bribe of 300,000. Baogu felt very sorry for this Jun Wuyi from the Western Heaven Realm. He felt that Jun Wuyi, who had made a loss, might only reward him with 100 gold, because even 100 gold was considered a lot in the industry rules. He had wanted to deny the highest estimate in his heart. 1,000 gold was too much. How could there be so much? Impossible. He was even mentally prepared to reap 10 gold. Now that he saw that it was 10,000 gold, the Roundhead Baogu felt a little dizzy. Even if this Jun Wuyi was very rich, he wouldn't give him that much money, right? He must have given it to the wrong person. He looked at the huge sum of money with a bit of eagerness. If this was true, then it would be great. However, he had never heard of a reward of 10,000 gold. Most importantly, he did not contribute much and did not speak up for him just now. Baogu hated himself very much. How could he be like this? Jun Wuyi trusted him so much and treated him so well, yet he sat back and watched as that guy asked for a bribe of 300,000. How could he face his friend, Jun Wuyi? The other party treated him as a friend, but Yi Yang looked at the round-faced Bao Gu, who was about to cry, and smiled. This is what you deserve, Brother Bao. Actually, this hard-shell dragon fruit is very important to me. Besides, the information you've told me over the past few days is also valuable. You've become friends with each other, and you've recommended me into the trade circle to buy the items I've been looking for. This money is the reward you deserve. Brother Bao, this is not the end, but the beginning. In the future, if you successfully recommend me and let me buy the desired item, I will receive a reward that is no less than this commission. It's precisely because you treat me like a friend that I can't take it. The round-faced Bao Gu held back his tears and handed the card back to Yu Yang with difficulty. No, I won't accept this money. Brother Bao, I still need a lot of things. The hard-shell dragon fruit is only the beginning. If you don't help me, who in Black Wind City can help me? Could it be that Bao Gu thinks that I'm not generous enough as a friend? When Yu Yang said this, the round-headed Bao Gu hurriedly waved his hand and shook his head nervously. No. Brother Ju, you misunderstood. I definitely didn't mean that. All right, I'll accept your commission, but in the future, I'll do my best for all your transactions. You treat me like a friend, and I, Bao Gu, can't lose face. I'll definitely get all the items you need for you. At the end of his sentence, the round-headed Bao Gu choked with sobs. Friend in Black Wind City, who would treat a peddler like him as a friend, who valued his information, who cared about his recommendation. Only this young man from the Western Heaven Realm was very ignorant. He knew nothing about the Southern Heaven Realm, and he didn't even have the heart to guard against others. What he had told him before was mostly bragging, and he didn't treat him as a real friend at all. He just wanted to take advantage of him, let him treat him to a meal, and also show off his knowledge. However, he didn't expect that the other party would treat him sincerely and treat him as a friend. If this hadn't happened to him, then he might have laughed at him for being an idiot. In the Heaven Realm, how could there be any friends? However, when it happened to him, the round-headed Bao Gu couldn't help but feel an indescribable emotion. To have a friend who valued him, even if he was a young human who didn't even have the strength of an Earth stage, that feeling was really good. This was 100 times better than knowing countless Heaven Stage experts who kowtowed to each other and didn't even look at him from the corner of their eyes. A Heaven Stage expert wouldn't even look at him if he kowtowed to them. However, this weak human treated him as a friend and believed his words without any scheming. The light card in his hand became heavy at this moment. Bao Gu held it tightly. Now, he felt that this was not only money, but also a kind of wealth that he had never had before and could not be replaced by anything. Friendship. In the past, he had never believed in his friendship and had always scoffed at it. At this moment, it was no longer an existence that he secretly mocked in his heart. Instead, it was a kind of touching and indescribable feeling. At dusk, Yu Yang was instructing the waiter to prepare dinner. A bloody person ran back from outside. It was the round-head Bao Gu who had gone out to gather information. He was like a mad lion, knocking everything in his way to the ground. He rushed in front of Yu Yang and shouted in a sincere tone that he had never used before. Wu Yi, listen up. Don't trust anyone in the future. In this Black Wind City, in the Emerald Territory, no, in the entire Heaven Realm, you can't trust anyone casually, and you can't easily expose your money. Do you understand? If you have a teleportation crystal, or any other way to leave, quickly leave this place. Black Wind City is a place that eats people. Don't come back in the future. If you treat me as a friend, you must remember not to trust strangers. What happened? Yu Yang had actually guessed it. It's very simple. The vice president floated over from afar with a hypocritical smile. Before you die, I will explain it to you. Chapter 678. When the surrounding people saw that there was a fight, they quickly dodged, but they still watched from afar. Bao Gu, whose entire body was covered in blood, stood in front of Yu Yang. The expression on his face was very resolute. As he turned to face the vice president, he whispered to Yu Yang, "When I say leave, leave as soon as possible." "What about you?" Yu Yang asked deliberately. I am one of the outer sect disciples of the stone carving sect. They don't dare to make things difficult for me. The round-head Bao Gu replied. Ha ha ha, an outer sect disciple of the stone carving sect. I'm so scared that my little heart is about to jump out. Ah ha ha. The vice president of the Earth stage, level 5, burst into a maniacal laughter and almost lost his temper. The round-head Bao Gu's face turned scarlet red, but the expression in his eyes became more and more resolute. He opened his stance and used his strength of Earth Stage Level 3 to contend against the Vice President's Heaven Stage Level 5. Let's go. Bao Gu turned around and pushed Yu Yang hard. Seeing Yu Yang fly out of the window, he immediately kicked the ground and pounced towards the Vice President of the Chidu Chamber of Commerce. As long as he could successfully escape. So what if he fought with the other party? The strength of the two. The difference was obvious. The Vice President was at Earth Stage Level 5, and the round-head Bao Gu was at Earth Stage Level 3. With a wave of his hand, the other party could beat Bao Gu until he was dizzy. It was impossible for Bao Gu to fight with his life on the line and perish together. In fact, if the Vice President hadn't wanted to tease him and had instead attacked ruthlessly, the round-head Bao Gu would have been beaten to death by him long ago. Puff puff. The round-head Bao Gu, who had been beaten to the point that he spat out a mouthful of blood, fell heavily to the ground. The Vice President laughed crazily and stepped on his head. You can't even withstand a single blow. Stupid weakling, don't think that courage can defeat everything. In front of me, no matter how much you struggle, it's just like hitting a rock with an egg. What I don't understand is you, who are selfish, stingy, and like a pug, who were removed from the stone carving sect because of your lack of talent. Why do you suddenly have the courage to challenge me? Before I grant you death, tell me, why do you want to protect that human? What benefits did he give you to make you work so hard for him? You want to know? Bao Gu squeezed out a painful smile. When the vice chairman bent down to listen, he spat out a mouthful of blood at the vice chairman. Pooey. You're courting death. The vice chairman punched Bao Gu fiercely. Bao Gu was severely injured and fainted on the ground. The vice president waved his hand, and one of his subordinates immediately served him a cup, while another respectfully poured wine for him. While the vice president was elegantly tasting his wine, a subordinate had already brought a bucket of water and poured the cold water onto the swollen face of the round-headed Bao Gu. Bao Gu woke up from the pain and discovered that there was a group of guards from the Chidu Chamber of Commerce outside the door. They were holding sharp weapons and forming a circle, forcing Jun Wuyi, who had just escaped, back. There were simply too many guards on the other side. In the end, they could not escape from their encirclement. The round-head Bao Gu closed his eyes in pain. If he was a little stronger, he wouldn't be like this. Now, can you answer my question? Bao Gu, you know, my patience is not very good. Before I finish this cup of wine, if I don't get an answer, I'm sorry, your friend's head will fall to the ground. The vice president of the Chidu Chamber of Commerce leisurely tasted the wine. Cough, cough, cough. Bao Gu endured the pain in his body and struggled to stand up from the ground. Hey, I don't like people standing taller than me when they talk. Beside the vice president, a subordinate had already brought over a chair for him to sit down casually. As for the round-head Bao Gu, he was kicked in the back of the knee by one of his subordinates. This caused him to kneel on the ground. The surrounding guards laughed out loud. As Bao Gu struggled angrily, the two guard leaders immediately placed their sharp blades on Yu Yang's neck. Their meaning was simple. If Bao Gu stood up, they would chop him to death. Bao Gu knelt down in hatred, but he was worried that Yu Yang would be beheaded by these people. In the end, he did not stand up. The vice president stretched out his leg and kicked the round-head Bao Gu. Are you mute? If you don't speak, then I'll cut that brat's mouth open. Bao Gu endured the pain and wiped the blood from his mouth. Don't you want to know the answer? I'll tell you, not because he gave me money, not because of anything else, but because he is my friend. Maybe you don't know what a friend is, and people like you will never know what a friend is. Before he could finish his words, the vice president had already kicked him several meters away, and even one of his front teeth fell out. Friend? You're talking to me about friends? Do you want to laugh me to death? That's right, I won't have any friends in my life, but Bao Gu, someone like you, is worthy of being called friend? Have you never betrayed a friend in exchange for money? Even in my hands, there have been many such betrayals. Do you think I don't know who you are? Don't use stupid jokes to cover up the truth. What did he give you to make you protect him so much? Hand it over. Immediately hand over the treasure. Huh? Balgu laughed out loud. With a leaky mouth, he laughed wildly and said, "Treasure, yes. In the past, I also thought that treasures and money were the best things in this world, just like you now. However, the true treasure was a kind of selfless trust, a kind of sincere treatment, a kind of friendship that could not be described with words or measured with money. Friends were the most precious, especially in this selfish heaven realm. Forget it, you will never understand. You will always be a pitiful bug. Even if I die today, I will still be better than you alive. Ayaya, I didn't expect you to become so great after not seeing you for half a day." The vice president angrily threw the cup and stood up. He punched and kicked Balgu until the skin on Balgu's body could not wrap around his bones. He was so tired that the vice president was panting. Only then did he stop. "I'm not great, but I'm not pitiful." Balgu spat out a mouthful of blood. "Balgu, I'll give you one last chance. Hand over the treasure he gave you. Otherwise, I'll immediately cut off your dog head." The vice president of the Chidu Chamber of Commerce was so angry that his entire body was trembling. "Even if I have a treasure, you can't take it away. A pitiful bug who doesn't even have a single friend. Only treasures and money are left in your eyes." Balgu glanced at Yu Yang and smiled apologetically. "I'm sorry. Knowing me as a friend is of no use to you at all. When you came to Blackwind City, not only was I unable to protect you, I even introduced you to the wrong path, met a greedy wolf, and brought about a fatal disaster. I don't blame you." Yu Yang nodded and said to the vice president, "I am from the Tong Tian sect of the Western Heaven Realm. I have come to the Southern Heaven Realm as a traveling merchant. If you are willing to release me in Balgu, I am willing to give you all the money I have." "How much money do you have?" the vice president asked. "One, a whole million." Yu Yang deliberately replied with some hesitation. "Is that so? That's a lot of money. But how can you use my money as a ransom? Weakling, do you know? As long as I kill you, everything you have will belong to me. In the heaven realm, the law of the jungle, don't tell me you don't understand it. No one will sympathize with your weakness. No one will pity your kindness. And no one will pity your situation. Look, how many people are here? Who will stand up for you? No. Who will stand up against our Chidu Chamber of Commerce? No. I don't know why you came all the way from the Western Heaven Realm, but you have to remember, this is the Southern Heaven Realm, not the Western Heaven Realm within the sphere of influence of a Tontian sect. This is Blackwind City, a place where my Chidu Chamber of Commerce has the power to control life and death. Understand?" The vice president was right. The power behind the Chidu Chamber of Commerce was actually the master of Blackwind City. However, in Blackwind City, other than a few famous chambers of commerce in the Emerald Territory, they were the largest and had the most authority. Not to mention killing a traveling merchant from far away from the Western Heaven Realm, not to mention killing a helpless human and an abandoned disciple of the stone carving sect. Even if you were to kill an expert with a stronger background, as long as there were enough benefits, the master of Blackwind City wouldn't care. The onlookers sighed inwardly. Some of the small merchants who knew Bao Gu shook their heads and cowered, afraid that they would be implicated by Bao Gu. The enchanting and sexy beauty was watching from another tall building, but she did not appear to save the situation in front of her. If she, a warrior of Earth Stage Level 8, stood out to help, even if the vice president was unwilling, he would still have some misgivings. The vice president was certain that this young human man had no one to rely on, and Bao Gu was weak and incompetent. It was impossible for him to fight against him, which was why he was so arrogant. The beauty looked at the calm and composed Yu Yang with a smile, as if she was watching a good show. When the vice president's subordinates were about to kill Bao Gu, a person appeared. It could be said that this was another very important character. Without him, this extortion and blackmail scene would not have been able to continue. The City Lord's guard captain, who was in charge of maintaining order in the city, appeared. He righteously stopped the assailant and stood in front of Bao Gu, who was covered in blood and bruises. All of you stop. Under the orders of the master of Black Wind City, all of you who disturb the peace will be thrown into the dark prison. Unless one of you can tell me what exactly happened. Master Fu, we ask for the protection of the city lord. Bao Gu hurriedly rushed in front of the guard captain. We are being hunted. No, please don't listen to the robber's side of the story. The vice president also stood up and pointed at Bao Gu and Yu Yang. With a pained expression, he accused, "They are thieves. They used the excuse of discussing business with me, but they took away the most important auction item of our Chamber of Commerce, the hard-shell dragon fruit, which has reached a time limit of 3,000 years. Now the stolen goods are still in his bag. The dragon fruit, which was worth hundreds of thousands of gold, was stolen by a shameless thief just like that. We rushed here just in time to catch up. My lord, please uphold justice for us. We bought the dragon fruit." Bao Gu quickly defended himself. "Don't talk for now, all of you shut up. I can't be sure who to listen to. I can't decide who's right and who's wrong. I'll ask and you guys answer." The guard captain pointed at Yu Yang and asked, "Do you have a 3,000-year hard-shell dragon fruit in your bag?" "Yes." Yu Yang nodded. "We bought it." Bao Gu quickly added, while the vice president insisted that it was stolen, "How much did you pay for it?" The guard captain asked again. 100,000 gold. Yu Yang answered without hesitation. "My lord, we gave him an additional 300,000 gold." Before Bao Gu could finish, he had already been kicked down by the vice president. The vice president swore that he didn't have an extra son, and even the 100,000 gold was only a verbal promise from the other party. He didn't give a single gold and stole the dragon fruit. Otherwise, he wouldn't have chased after them. "May I ask if 100,000 gold can buy a 3,000-year hard-shell dragon fruit?" The guard captain asked an old pharmacist. "I'm afraid that won't do. If it were to be auctioned at the annual auction, the starting price would be around 100,000 gold, at least 200,000 gold. If the quality is good, even 300,000 gold would be auctioned off. 100,000 gold, if I could buy a 3,000-year hard-shell dragon fruit. This old man would also like to buy it." The pharmacist was clearly a scammer. "Do you have a bill?" The guard captain asked Yu Yang. Yu Yang shook his head. "My lord," he refused to issue an official bill, but he wrote a receipt in his own name. Bao Gu struggled desperately under the pressure of the patrolling guards. "I've never written a receipt. In Black Wind City, even a fool knows that that kind of thing is useless because it can be forged and anyone can forge it. If you have an official bill stamped with Cheeto's official seal, then take it out. If not, then don't insult my character. You thieves and robbers should all be hanged." The vice chairman sneered again and again. "Things are almost clear." The guard captain sneered at Yu Yang. "Without a bill, words have no basis. Since you're a traveling merchant from the Western Heaven Realm, I can't make things too difficult for you, lest you say that our Black Wind City bullies outsiders. However, there are rules everywhere. Your Western Heaven Realm has the rules of the Western Heaven Realm, and our Southern Heaven Realm also has the rules of the Southern Heaven Realm. In Black Wind City, theft is absolutely not allowed. If you steal, you will be fined 10 times. Since you said that you would buy it for 100,000 gold, and you don't have any bills as proof, then you will compensate according to the price of 100,000 gold. If you steal, you'll be fined 10 times. Take out 1 million to compensate for the losses of the Cheeto Chamber of Commerce. Then, immediately get out of our Black Wind City. We will never welcome thieves here." In the end, the guard captain made a difficult decision. The onlookers applauded in unison. Everyone knew that the guard captain and the vice chairman had teamed up to bully outsiders. But what could they do? The Heaven Realm was like this. The strong preyed on the weak. If that young human man was a Heaven stage expert and not a Quasi-Earth stage expert, would he still be bullied like this? The answer was, of course, impossible. 2 streams of blood flowed out of the round head Bao Gu's eyes. He said in a hoarse voice, "Wu Yi, I was wrong. I've let you down." Yu Yang smiled. "It's fine, you my friend. Don't say that you're not wrong. Even if you're really wrong, I'll forgive you. If money can solve the problem, then it's for the best. If you don't have money, you can still earn it, as long as you're still alive." When the guard captain heard this, A cold light flashed across his eyes. The sexy beauty was a little surprised that she didn't see Yu Yang go berserk, but she immediately nodded. After the storm, there would always be a strange silence after the patrolling guards forcefully snatched the 1 million gold card from Yu Yang's hands. The guard captain signaled for the 2 patrolling guards to be escorted out of the city. The guard captain quietly made a kill gesture to the vice chairman. Hands and feet, be clean and beautiful. Don't leave any traces behind. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.